Mike Show. We're also taking live calls 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak, so save that number. Now, later tonight, we'll engage Honorable Martha Karua about diaspora voting and representation. We'll ask her how she envisions the future of the diaspora from a political perspective. Will all diasporans get the right to vote and be represented, or will the status quo remain? Feel free to start dropping comments below and let us know what you think and where you are tuned in from. What part of the US, what part of the world you're tuned in from. Na bila kusahau, tumekuwa tukipokea mziki toka DJ wetu machachari mleta habari DJ 𝑚𝒉𝒆, na tutadunda kule viwanjani na 𝑘𝐀𝐃𝐘 nambari 7 mgongoni akituletea habari za michezo. Moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios, mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawi. Kwetu wananiita mteule na wengine wananiita mjukuu wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now, this hour we'll be talking to Honorable Martha Karua on why she's currently in the U.S. She'll give her thoughts on the current broad-based coalition currently governing Kenya. And Honorable Martha Karua will also talk about her book and if she'll be vying for presidency in 2027. Please drop a comment below and let us know where you are tuned in from. I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi, and it's Friday the 4th of April, and we are streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Now, please remember to follow the One Mic Show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And tonight on studio with me, we have Mr. �ＯneMic and we have our resident DJ 𝑚𝒉𝒆 already on the decks. 𝐿𝐴 will be joining us via Zoom, and not forgetting our super producer, 𝑚ubelwa Wabandio. I just want to take this opportunity to welcome all the listeners who are already tuned in. I can see Esther Mulusa is tuned in from the dirty south, fresh out of surgery, but I must peel my eyes for the Iron Lady. Karibu sana Esther Mulusa. I can see Slave from Texas is already tuned in, and Washeke is tuning in from Maputo, Mozambique, another city that Washeke is in tonight. So karibuni. Because of the of time constraints we have today, we are going to get started right away. And when we talk about political resistance in Kenya, the names that dominate the headlines are usually men. But every once in a while, someone breaks the mold. Someone who doesn't wait for a seat at the table but brings her own chair and flips the script. Tonight we'll be talking to the party leader of a new political outfit called People Liberation Party. She's a former member of parliament, a justice minister, a former presidential candidate, and the only person bold enough to walk out on President Moi at the height of his regime. Martha Karua didn't just make history, she rewrote it. Honorable Martha Karua, karibu sana to the One Mic Show. Can you hear us, Honorable Karua?
Loud and clear, and thank you very much for having me.
Okay, thank you so much. How are you feeling tonight, Honorable Karua?
Well, I'm feeling good. I've rested, and I'm in company of friends after I leave the show.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Now, before we proceed, Honorable Karua, I want to say that we had planned for a full 3-hour show, but your team contacted us a few hours before the show and told us that you have less than an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. So I want to check in with you first to confirm how long we'll have you so we know how to proceed. Is that correct? We have about an hour with you. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
3 hours would be too exhausting for somebody who crossed the Atlantic only the other day. Yeah.
Okay. Understood. Yeah. So you've been in the U.S. for a couple of days so far. Now, just briefly tell us where you currently are, because most people don't know where you are, and what you've been up to for those few days that you've been in the U.S. Honorable Karua.
I'm in Boston, Northampton to be specific, and I'm here to engage with diverse people. Yesterday I had a lecture at Smith College, and I'm going to have engagement with Kenyans around Springfield tomorrow. I have several engagements arranged in Boston, and on the 8th I'll go to Washington, D.C., where I'll have similar engagements, and an engagement also at Howard University. I will have engagements in Delaware, and I'll come back to Massachusetts for one more engagement before flying off to Atlanta, where I'll spend 2-3 days and then head back to Kenya. My mission is to engage with diverse people, as I have indicated. It's also to engage Kenyans and not only to discuss the situation in Kenya, but also to promote my book, Against the Tide.
Okay, all right. So a number of things there. So you have a couple of engagements in various universities that you've mentioned. You're speaking and engaging with Kenyans. And then you mentioned a book. And let's just briefly talk about that book, Against the Tide. What exactly is this book about? Because most of our listeners, most of the people who are tuned in have not read it. So, Honorable Karua, please tell us in a few minutes what the book is about.
This book is my memoir, and it talks about my journey. I actually call it Against the Tide, my journey on a less trodden path. So it's sharing my experiences with the people, hoping that it may inspire some. It may also help some to avoid whatever mistakes that I have made. In Africa, we are used to sharing our stories through oral tradition. But in these days of the written word, that has changed to writing memoirs and sharing in written form, so that your experiences may be shared by generations. That's exactly what I have done. And that's what the book is about.
Okay, and is this book already available? Has it already been launched for people maybe who want to buy it?
It was launched in Kenya on the 17th of November, 2024. It is available. Physical copies, we do have some, but it's also available on Amazon. So it's widely available.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you're tuned into the OneMic show, and live from the state of Massachusetts is Honorable Martha Karua, and she's talking to us about her trip to the U.S., what has brought her to the U.S., what she's going to be doing. She has mentioned that she's going to be in D.C., in Maryland, in Virginia, and she'll also be in Delaware, and she'll also be going to Atlanta. And we're going to be in the comment section. We're going to be posting links of where she's gonna be, so that you can, those who want to talk to her or those who have any questions for her, will have a chance to do so. I just want to quickly come into the studio to the members of my panel here, and let's remember we have Martha only for this hour. So real quick, I'm gonna start with you, DJ Moshfire. Karibu sana, and maybe just one burning question that you had for Honorable Martha Karua.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be asking too early, but I'll go for it. Karibu Mheshimiwa, are you going to be running for president come 2027? And if not, why?
Yes, I'll be running for president. I've already stated so loudly and unequivocally in Kenya, but I'm also saying because we are crafting a united opposition where we hope to have a mechanism to front a single candidate. I'm going to work very hard to be that single candidate, but in the event I am not, I'll be ready and willing to support whoever else is nominated as an opposition candidate, knowing that Kenya is greater than any one of us. I've also stated that I will not be a running mate. If I'm not the candidate, I will wholeheartedly support without necessarily being a running mate. But we are putting Kenya first, and I'm ready to put Kenya first.
And not Kenya Kwanza. Kenya first.
I'm saying Kenya, the needs of Kenya first.
Okay.
We must be able to throw out this illegitimate, rogue Kenya Kwanza regime.
Okay. Now, before I introduce, Mika, who's also on the panel, there's another question that has been coming, that has been bubbling amongst people in the diaspora. You are in the past election, you were Raila Odinga as the ODM leader's running mate. But things happened, and we now have what's referred to as a broad-based coalition or broad-based government. Of course, he's saying that ODM has not joined government, but people feel a different type of way. So when you're talking about an opposition coalition, is this gonna be in the groups that are outside this broad-based arrangement, or is this also gonna be inclusive? Because people in the broad-based arrangement are saying that they're not in government. They've just donated some people to help. Honorable Karua.
I think everybody can see through that. On one hand, my former presidential candidate, Raila Odinga, will say they are not in government. On the other hand, he will front an MOU that says how they are going to govern together. So it's clear that one leg is in the opposition, one leg is in government, a situation that is untenable. The Constitution is very clear that there has to be lines drawn between the majority party, which will be the government party, and the minority party, which would be opposition. And there is serious reason for this. Members of the opposition are the ones that are supposed to chair the watchdog committees, namely public accounts and public investments committees. There are 3 of each, so 6 committees of parliament. When ODM refuses to clearly choose whether government or opposition, it means they continue to head watchdog committees that should be with parties in the opposition, parties like Wiper Party, like DAPK, like the Jubilee Party, the Uhuru, the group that is led by Uhuru Kenyatta, groups that are clearly in the opposition. So they have, by that refusal to be clear and to follow the law, the ODM has reduced accountability in Parliament, has destroyed the check and balances in Parliament. So we are asking Right Honorable Raila Odinga and ODM to do the right thing. Enter holy matrimony, political holy matrimony with the Kenya Kwanza regime, and that is drawing a post-election coalition and depositing it with the Registrar of Political Parties. Calling it an MOU doesn't take away from the fact that they have joined government. Let them do the right thing, free the watchdog committees to parties committed to be in the opposition. That's all that we are saying.
Okay. Want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the OneMic show, and we have Martha Karua live from Boston, Massachusetts, talking about Kenyan politics. We have Mika on the other side. I don't know whether, Mika, you can hear us. Mika, I'm going to give you a minute or two to talk to Martha Karua, ask her a question. Remember, we have Martha only for this first hour. Mika, 𝐻𝑇𝑤𝑒𝑛𝑑𝑒 kazi.
Thank you, Ali. Good evening, Honorable Martha Karua. It's a pleasure to have. So it's a good pleasure to have you at the show, and we really appreciate you giving us time. Since we have a constraint of time, I had a lot of questions, so just to have a good discussion, but I will stick to the current situation of what's happening, or maybe take us back to a year ago, when we had the demonstrations that started happening in the country due to the finance bill, and the Gen Z demonstrations, as we saw, which led to where we are right now, with the president running and offering a hand, trying to shake hands with Honorable Raila Odinga, and also the impeachment of Honorable Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Now, Kenyans really don't know what is happening. All we hear are vague statements of the country was being overthrown. There were rogue elements that were trying to hijack the Gen Z demonstrations. But while we can see clearly the Gen Z demonstrations it was just a mass tiredness of people who decided to go to the streets and fight for their country because they'd seen from the leadership of the Kenya Kwanza regime the corruption and the opulence to rub that corruption on their faces. So you as somebody who is in the political circle, what really happened or is happening in the country right now? Are these just statements that are being thrown around to legitimize this marriage, or did something happen behind the scenes in the country?
What I would say is that you have correctly pointed out that the Gen Z were fighting against massive corruption and opulence. Their bylines were transparency and accountability, and they wanted it across the board, both in government and in the private sector, and that's why they were saying occupy churches. They didn't want religious organizations condoning large donations that fuel corruption. They wanted corruption weeded out of our lives. So when somebody says that they went to help Ruto, it is true. They went to help a crumbling government, which amounted to fighting the forces that wanted to free the country from the yoke of oppression. It is an unfortunate thing that after leading the Azimio demonstrations, which Raila did courageously and well, he forgot all about the suffering of the people and decided to help Ruto. And helping Ruto is not the same as helping Kenya. You help Kenya when your actions go towards redeeming or helping people to achieve their goals. People want to be freed from oppression, from extractive behavior by the KK regime, taxing people beyond where they can be able to continue with their lives, taxing people beyond where they can endure. And one of the principles of taxation is that you must tax people in a measured way that they can be able to pay the taxes. The taxes that Zakayo is introducing, if I may call him by the name Kenyans have given him, are taxes that are taking away food from the plates of families, taking away education for members of the family, taking away health. In other words, overburdening Kenyans to where life becomes unbearable, while at the same time destroying the quality of services delivered to the people. The people would expect, with heavier taxation, to get better access to health, to get better access to education, to have security improved and their rights safeguarded better. The youth would expect that the economy would work and there would be jobs. All these things are absent. Kenyans are crying. They want the payslip liberated. They want health liberated from SHA falsehoods. They want education liberated, capitation paid on time, university students given their loans, not under the so-called new model that is discriminatory, but under a model closer to help, where everybody got support for university. So in other words, what has happened is that Ruto has been helped to continue oppressing Kenyans without paying attention to the cries during the Gen Z demonstrations of transparency and accountability. He's actually become more and more opaque, and it's there for everybody to see.
Oh, okay. Now, very well explained. A question here is coming from Pablo Nzengo all the way from California. Pablo starts by saying on YouTube, and welcome to all our YouTube friends. I can see why Rimo, you're there. Karibu sana. Pablo is asking, Pablo first says, I admire my learned friend, the Iron Lady, Honorable Martha Karua, always tough and focused. So Pablo has two questions. The first one is, she has been critical, Martha Karua has been critical of the current administration. What specific measurable changes would she want to implement that would set her apart from the current leadership? And then the follow-up to that, Pablo is asking, many candidates make promises during campaigns but struggle to deliver once in office. What makes you different, and how will you ensure accountability for your commitments? These are questions from Pablo from California. Honorable Martha Karua, back to you.
Thank you very much, Pablo. One of the things is that I would immediately ensure that the rule of law prevails. And where the rule of law prevails, corruption will not be tolerated, and things will have to be done in accordance with the law. I keep saying our Constitution is actually the operational manual for our republic, our beloved republic. It says in detail how to utilize public finances, to utilize effectively and with prudence, and putting the needs of the people first. It has instructions on what type of leadership to consider for the country, and that is value-based leadership as opposed to transactional leadership. It has instructions on every aspect of our lives. Where there is rule of law, institutions work. The judiciary should do its work, the legislature and the executive. And disputes between the people and those in authority and between amongst the people themselves will be resolved in real time. Therefore, we would ensure that there is a good environment for doing business, for the economy to thrive. Instead of additional taxes, prioritize essential services, cut wasteful spending, which was called by the earlier questioner opulence. Cut the opulence. The state should not fund opulence for a few leaders. It should fund services for the people. Our Constitution in Article 43 sets out the basic needs of the people, which the state must ensure the people enjoy. And that is health, education, housing, and infrastructure. Things like water, electricity, roads, etc. Those are the things that we must fund first, and not guzzlers for the leaders or fund their opulent lifestyle. That is what People's Liberation Party, PLP government would look like. That's what a Martha Karua administration would look like. Okay. We would liberate the people from the yoke of oppression and consider their needs first before anything else.
Okay, asante sana, Honorable Martha Karua. The number to call, we're going to give an opportunity to one or two people to speak to Martha Karua because we have a very, very short time with her. So the early bird will catch the worm. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. We're just going to give you about 1 minute to ask a question. While we are at that, 𝐿𝐺𝐵𝒉𝒄, karibu sana, 𝐿𝐺𝐵𝒄𝐺 all the way from Texas. 𝐺𝐵𝒄𝐺 has put a very good schedule of Miss Martha Karua throughout the U.S., the places where she's been and the places where she's going to. So if you go through the YouTube comments, 𝐺𝐵𝒄𝐺 has them there. 𝐺𝐵𝒄𝐺, asante sana.
Can you put it on Facebook also?
Yes, 𝐺𝐵𝒄𝐺, if you can jump on Facebook also and throw that schedule there.
Somebody's asking about it.
Yeah, because a lot of people here are asking how they can meet Martha Karua, how they can get their book signed. Some people have already bought the book. The name of the book is Against the Tide. It's available on Amazon. Don't start asking for a free copy. Don't asking for a copy at Yali umenunua nipatie nisome. There's you can go buy it on Amazon, and I think it was only, how much was it? Mike, you saw it?
So there are several. There's the Kindle. there's paperback, and there's hardcover.
Okay.
Chaguo ni lako.
Na
Okay.
kuna ile audio. Ile
Now she can tell us.
Ile mheshimiwa amesema yeye ndiye amesoma kitabu.
Kuna audio.
Audio bado lakini iko njiani.
On the way.
In no time. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm available to do audio for you.
Ebu weka your voice. Welcome to the One Mic Show.
No.
Oh,
You'll make people not buy the book. Yes, but anyway, and Sam Rakia is saying he's listening from Boston. Karibu sana, Iron Lady. Now, another quick question here before, because time is really running out, before we forget. People in the diaspora always talking about broken consular services. There's an issue, like recovering lost passports and just even basic services like getting an ID. There's been issues, and especially because of the lack of what we call mobile outreach or mobile consular services, because it's been talked about and it's been implemented to a certain extent, but it's a once in a while thing. It's not something that is consistent. We have cities like Atlanta where you're going. There are so many Kenyans. Cities like Houston and Dallas, they are completely unserved. At least up at DC, we have the embassy. We have
in LA, we have the consulate.
We have a mission in New York, and then we also have a consulate in LA. But the United States is a very big country. You've traveled here multiple times, Honorable Karua. So what will a Karua administration do to address this? Because this has been a pain point, president after president, for a very, very long time for Kenyans. Honorable Martha Karua.
I think it's a matter that has to be addressed, ensuring that consular services are accessible, and with it also when it comes to diaspora voting, ensuring that people do not have to travel very long distances, and considering the cities that have a concentration of Kenyans. I think to be able to do this, we have to use our resources prudently. But a broken system can only offer broken services. And the Kenya Kwanza administration is a completely broken system that cannot offer services to Kenyans or even to the diaspora. This would be rectified by a Karua administration.
Okay, so it will be rectified by a Karua administration. So you had it from her. Again, the number to call, people still asking, is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. We will only give an opportunity to one or two people to speak. Is there a call already? Not yet. Okay, so the number is 202-683.
They'll start calling when we're on the tail end of the interview.
Yes, I know that's what normally happens. Now we have Irungu Horton, all the way from he's in Los Angeles right now. I did not even know he was in the United States. He's tuned in. By Amnesty International. I know most of you who watch Kenyan news, Kenyan media, are familiar with Irungu. He's been very active, especially on this issue of killings and abduction. So his question to Martha Karua is, if you're elected in 2027, how would you deliver justice for the killings and abductions that have already happened?
And for those who may not know, he was present at Mehdi Hassan's interview of Kimani Ichung'wah.
Yes, the famous interview on Al Jazeera. We're not going to talk about it, but go watch it.
But go watch it.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa.
Hi there, Irungu. I would ensure firstly that the culprits of the abductions are brought to book, because you never can bring this to an end without making sure that those who carry out these heinous crimes are prosecuted and that they are brought to account. Secondly, by ensuring that through the constitutional mechanisms available, victims are compensated. And people do not necessarily have to go to court, because we have the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, which is empowered to assess what needs to be done. And I'm happy to remind the listeners that I have been in the case that the Law Society has taken to court against the Inspector General of Police and other security chiefs on abduction. And we have participated in that case robustly. The judgment has been postponed for the second time. It was to be on the 21st of March, postponed to the 4th of April, and now postponed to the 11th of April, when I do really hope it will be delivered. So human rights are at the core of the People's Liberation Party and one of my core beliefs, and we would ensure that people enjoy their human rights unhindered.
Okay, Irungu, I hope your question was answered. And People's Liberation Party used to be the party leader of NARC Kenya. And I think Pablo was asking this question before. Did NARC Kenya transition to People's Liberation Party, or is this a whole new outfit altogether?
We rebranded, so we changed the name officially, and we also changed our colors. We remain the same people committed to the interests of Kenyans, committed to social justice, committed to human rights and civil liberties. And with the rebrand, we renewed our commitment to always work in the best interests of the people.
Okay, all right, that's a good answer. I'm gonna read one comment here from YouTube, and then Mike is gonna go and read some of the Facebook comments. Sahau at
Facebook ni mob, but in his
yeah, Jimmy Okang is asking, Ali, can you post the number to call in? A lot of people calling saying you're saying the number too fast. So the number is 202-683-453-457.
Translated.
202-683-4570, and then remember to press *5 to
now
speak.
Slower.
202-683-4570.
Thank you.
Press *5 to speak. We're gonna give a chance only to one or two people. So if you're
We
not
already
the
have a
first one,
caller.
we already have a caller.
Yes.
Okay.
From Toronto, but
do you wanna read? Do you wanna read the comments? Because a few comments from Facebook.
Let me read the few comments. Then we'll take that caller.
Okay.
So karibu sana, we've got Mwakisia Mgendi Bri, Esther Mulusa, Slay. You welcomed all those. Yakobo Simba telling us we are behaving. We're not asking questions. Or Paulette Njeri Mwirore was asking, where is she meeting Kenyans in DC? And I think Okang is going to
Jimmy Okang is gonna post them on the comments.
on the comments,
yes.
hopefully.
Okay.
Yakobo Simba has a question. Maybe you can note this down, then you can answer when I'm done. Ask Mheshimiwa a top policy she will institute if she is chosen. Then we have Esther Mulusa says, in a system that works, wananchi should be busy working but not following leaders and their unhealthy politics. Kenyans politic full-time from election cycle to election cycle. The leaders and the electorates are both the problem. We don't have issue-based parties. They are tribal and individual-based parties that are fluid, always merging and disbanding. We have 𝐾𝐈𝐳 all the way from Canada, who is a Jamaican, and I think
Who loves Kenya?
Yeah, and
I think in his mind he thinks he's Kenyan.
He wishes he was born Kenya.
he is Kenyan.
Okay,
Yeah.
he's
In
Kenyan.
his mind, yeah.
All right.
With some
We
African,
welcomed him.
with some African countries now offering descendants of enslaved Africans from the transatlantic slave trade permanent residency and in some cases citizenship. Will your Kenyan government join this movement? Karibu sana. And there are very many. Lloyd Osunga, karibu sana. People's Liberation Party. What happened to NARC Kenya?
We answered that.
Yeah,
That
that
has
was
been
already
answered.
answered. Yeah.
As the Justice Constitution Minister in the NARC government, would it be unfair to say that there was not a single corruption prosecution? That is Lloyd Osunga, all the way from Jersey. We take the call?
Let's take the call. I hope Mheshimiwa has been noting. I can see she's been noting down the question.
So let's take this call because of the time constraint.
Yes, and then she'll be able to answer all of them in one go.
Okay. What happened over here?
So what's the last 4 digits of the caller?
I think we have a situation over here. Let me see if this is going to work. 0721.
Welcome to the OneMic show.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling from. No, we cannot hear the caller.
Okay, I think I have to do this again.
Okay. All right.
So let her answer. While
Okay, so go ahead and start answering those questions as we sort out the phone situation. Honorable Martha Karua.
Yes, I was asked what one policy I would institute. Economic policy, that having an economy that works for the people, not overtaxing people, and making sure that the taxes collected work for the people. Currently, what is happening is that the state has been repurposed to serve only the ruling class. Taxes are increased, they are not commensurate with the services. Services are decreased, and the opulence of the ruling class goes a notch higher. Also, borrowing loans that are not going in for development, that are again wasted. So I would institute an economic policy that works for the people, grows the economy, and grows jobs. Now, someone has said that there is tribal parties and tribal politics. I may not fully agree with that, but I would invite every Kenyan, including the questioner, to join political parties of their choice to help build those parties through appropriate policies and to help institutionalize those parties, because a government is as good as the political party that forms it. Come, help us build formidable political parties that are governments in waiting and that are ready to redeem our country. The party cannot be built by the party leaders alone. It has to be by the membership. Now, I may not, sometimes I can't even read my own handwriting.
You have a doctor's
Let me wear
handwriting.
glasses.
She must be a doctor.
You must be a doctor.
I think she's a doctor in another life.
in
I
another
was
life.
meant to be, but I became a lawyer. But a lawyer is a doctor who deals with the pains, legal pains.
Yeah, and
There you go.
as your
To that extent,
yes.
I am a doctor.
Okay.
Yes. Now, I already indicated that we would liberate the economy. I have seen the other question. Will Kenya government offer
Descendants.
descendants of slaves citizenship? I think it's something worth considering, but the greatest emergency in Kenya today is to deal with the issues affecting Kenyans and to get the country running as a going concern, to fix this very broken system. And that would be my priority, but this is something worth considering downstream. I was also told that as Justice Minister, no prosecution happened. May I first enlighten the questioner that the Justice Ministry in Kenya, as it has existed from time to time, is not a prosecuting ministry. The function of prosecution firmly remains in the Attorney General's department. It is a disconnect because the Ministry of Justice becomes a coordinating and a policy ministry. My work was to articulate the government's policy on the fight against corruption, on the administration of justice, minus the powers to prosecute or coordinate prosecutions, which were in the office of the Attorney General. And there was always a disconnect between my office and that of the Attorney General. And you can see eventually they scrapped the ministry. And one of the reasons I resigned is because we were at loggerheads with the government that I served over the manner in which corruption cases were dealt with and other economic crimes. I felt we were not fighting corruption properly. I was articulating the fight against corruption without any results. So that is a disconnect, and which I would rectify in the arrangement of ministries, making sure that the Ministry of Justice, the Minister of Justice is also the Attorney General. That's what happens in countries like Uganda and Ghana in order to have the work streamlined. So the other one, I think those were the questions.
Yes.
Yes.
I think those were
If I have forgotten anyone, you can remind me.
Yes.
those were the ones.
Those were the ones, yeah.
Now we have a caller here. I'm going to start with 0721. 0721. Thank you for calling the OneMic Show. Please
Welcome
name,
to the OneMic Show.
name and where you're calling from, and please make your
Yes.
question brief.
Yes, my name is Wangari. I'm calling from Dallas. My question for you is, with the election being so close, what grassroots movements are you working on in Kenya to ensure all the young people get registered to vote and get IDs, so we're not waiting till close to the election and then, we have a whole slew of people that should not have citizenship voting? The other second part of my question is, with what you just discussed with corruption and trying to get rid of that, what plans will your government have to hold the people accountable? Because we can address the corruption, but if we're not holding them accountable for all the people stealing money, and we've got all these cases coming out, what plans will you put in place to ensure an audit is done, especially for members of parliament, because their pay doesn't match with the wealth they get when they get into power? What are you going to do to curb that, to ensure that government resources are not being stolen and all the citizens are benefiting from what rightfully belongs to them?
Thank you, Wangari.
That's my question.
Okay, thank you, Wangari. Let's go to this. I think we should just take the three callers.
Yeah.
Let's take all the questions.
Yeah, and then she'll
we'll-
answer them at a go.
Yes. 9503. Thank you for calling the OneMic Show. Name and where you're calling from, and please make your question brief.
One question.
It will be brief. My name is Jacobo Simba, and I asked about the policy. And I have to say, kwanza, habari yako Mheshimiwa. I have to say that Mheshimiwa gave me a political answer that was juju too. So my question and follow-up to the question is, you mentioned about the economy. I'm talking about a policy. So usiniambie kwamba, let's join a party and build a party from the grassroots. No, because that's not a good question. We're looking for leaders now. Kenya is awake. We're looking for leaders who can answer a question about a policy. So what kind of policy do you think you will institute in your leadership if you are chosen? Asante sana.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Jacobo.
8264. Name and where you're calling from, and your brief question.
Yes, my name is Julius Nkanda. I'm calling from Indiana. Thank you, Mr. Mike, Brother Mike, with the work you do. Honorable Karua, thank you for coming over. Now, really, it's not going to be a question. My concern is the diaspora. As we stand, I believe we should be offering solutions to the leaders who are receptive to change. And in this case, asking questions for those who have been in this country, we know what the solutions can be. My offer is, if we can unite here in the diaspora, Mr. Mike, with your show, uniting the people here, then we align to those leaders who are receptive to change. We can change things over there. Kenya has never been in such a low point as it is now, where leadership is only immersed in theft and destruction of the economy. Our resources in Kenya can support our people. They have been driven into poverty because of poor leadership. So for Mother Karua, Honorable, to have come here, we need to find ways, Brother Mike, and probably we'll connect more, through Brother Jimmy Onkangi, to see that we have really come up with a strategy on how to support leadership in Kenya collectively from here. There is power in the diaspora.
Okay.
So there's an issue about asking Mother Karua about what she can do. It should be like, what can we do to help her, support her? So that's all I can say, that let's work closely with the leaders so that we can make change in Kenya.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana.
All right, Muhesh, over to you.
Okay, I'll begin with a question by my namesake Wangari. Indeed, we are, as the united opposition leaders, calling for prompt issuance of identity cards to young people who are eligible for IDs, and thereafter swift registration as voters. It's a topic we are going to devote a lot of time on, because there is the danger of over 7 million young people being disenfranchised. While on the other hand, the Ruto administration is very keen to give people to integrate the refugees and give them ID cards. We think that the same vigor and energy should be applied to Kenyans who have attained 18 and are ready to get their IDs and to be registered as voters. We will also be asking any plan to integrate the refugees must be subjected to public participation so that Kenyans can have their say. It is not necessarily a bad idea, but it should be subjected to public participation, as the Constitution says. I also agree that there should be lifestyle audit, not just of MPs, of every state officer, including those who are working in the Anti-Corruption Commission. The Constitution is very clear about transparency and accountability, and therefore, declaration of assets which is not made public is unconstitutional. And these are issues about adherence to the rule of law. And that's where I started, that I would ensure that there is adherence to the rule of law. Now, there is a questioner who has asked a follow-up about policy. There cannot be a single policy. We can only talk of policies. And when you ask me about a policy, I gave you a policy on economy. There will be policies on health, policies on foreign affairs. So that general question, I could not have answered you with each policy. I chose a topic for myself. And as our brother who has asked subsequently said, if you feel that what I'm giving is not what you would want, you can come up and give the solution yourself. That is why even the Constitution makes the provision for participation. So I believe I've answered you. I gave one policy. It's not possible to give each and every policy. But I would be very happy to hear what your idea was in asking the question. I also want to agree with the suggestion that the diaspora should be united. The diaspora politics follow Kenyan politics. When you are united at home, the diaspora gets united. When there is divisive politics, the diaspora gets divided. But it is true, those in diaspora, having seen economies which work like a going concern, perhaps should be sharing tips with us so that we are able to build an economy and a country where the institutions are strong and institutions survive administrations.
Okay,
I think that's all that had been asked.
Yes, thank you so much. And we're getting now close to wrap up our time with you. Of course, the show is going to continue. Martha Karua has another engagement she has to go to. Washeke here, before, she shuts down our show, we have to ask a question. Washeke is asking, will your administration ensure proceeds of corruption hidden away in foreign banks are repatriated seize foreign properties and businesses of government officials who are known to have been acquired via taxpayers' money. And then on top of that, I'll also add David Kariuki's question, which is asking the Attorney General, Justin Muturi, gave a very explosive interview today about the president. Are these impeachable offenses? Honorable Martha Karua.
Firstly, recovery of assets, proceeds of crime, is already provided for in the law. And the law properly applied should be able to guide us on what to do in all those instances. Strict adherence to the rule of law means prosecution of those who are culpable and using the legal mechanisms to recover what is owed to Kenyans, whether it's in foreign lands or in Kenya itself. And this is not something new. It has happened in the past, only it happens here and there, and most of the time it is not being done. We have to be consistent in enforcement, and that is the only way to discourage corruption. And we have instances where monies borrowed by Kenya do not reach the consolidated funds and are shared abroad. There are mechanisms of tracing such money. The other question, the last question was, if you can remind me.
Yeah, it was about the explosive interview that Justin Muturi did.
Yes.
And if the offenses that the president, he claims the president has committed are impeachable offenses.
Yes, indeed they are impeachable where you have a parliament that is functional. But our parliament has been reduced to a lapdog instead of watchdog.
Wow.
It's very difficult in such a situation to expect impeachment. I think you watched live the impeachment of the second deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. You watched that charade and parliament coming up with a verdict of guilty.
We did.
Then you know what sort of a parliament we have. It's a sorry state of affairs, and that is why as we go to the next elections, we must have a conversation as Kenyans, whether we are going to elect value-based leaders or we are going again to elect because of transactional politics, because of what you have been given.
Okay.
Unless we discuss seriously the role of money in politics and agree to return to value-based leadership, we will continue watching things go wrong without any cause of redress. If Parliament cannot come to the aid of the people, it means we are on our own. A very sorry situation. These are the things we need to be highlighting so that we can prepare ourselves as we go to the next electoral cycle. And I thank you very much for helping bring out these issues in this conversation.
Okay, all right. Now, Honorable Karua, last question before you go, because we know you have another engagement. Diaspora voting. This has been a heartache, a headache topic for people in the diaspora, especially out here in the U.S., where just like consular services, people don't have access to registration. IBC will give us a 2-week notice that we are coming for registration and expect people to travel on 5-hour flights and on 5-hour flights and travel on maybe 9-hour drives to go and register to vote, because you have to travel to register, then you have to travel back again to vote. So the question is, how will you ensure that there's enough polling centers, and how will you also ensure that this registration is continuous? Because right now we don't have anything. We will wait until it's close to election, then IBC surprises us again.
This issue was recently raised to me by the diaspora in another interview last week. And my view is that although my party doesn't have members in parliament, in the united opposition we have parties like WIPA, DAPK, and Jubilee, the Uhuru faction, that have members. And I am aware that there are 2 petitions by the diaspora in Parliament regarding voting. And we agreed, I've already spoken to my brother Kalonzo Musyoka and DAPK leader Eugene Wamalwa, that they'll get their members to follow up those petitions. So even before we go to a new administration, we are going to collectively see what we can do to get the IEBC, as soon as it is formed, to reconsider making it easier for diaspora to register and to vote, whether by way of mobile voting registration centers and voting centers. But my administration would sit with the diaspora, because the wearer of the shoe is the one who knows where it hurts, so that we get the ideas on what needs to be done, how to do it, to ensure that we lighten the burden of the diaspora when it comes to registration and voting. We should not only be happy and commending the diaspora as a country when we are receiving your remittances. We must make life easier for you, renewal of passports, registration as voters, and voting, and all other services that the diaspora deserve.
Okay. One last question before you go.
Ali,
yes.
Ali, before you go on, there's a question I think that really affects quite a huge number of voters, and it's in the comments. It's being asked by Ms. Odhiambo Odak, and her question literally says, "What is the state of the pensions for retirees following the recent update to online portals, which don't seem to be super secure?" And this was something that was actually being discussed a while ago, on how the update on the online portals for retirees has put out a lot of retirees who can't be able to access their pension. We know that the elderly are a huge voting bloc and they're very vulnerable. How will they be helped in this situation? What is being done to help them right now, and how will your government ensure that the elderly are protected and the retirees, especially in getting their pension and any other services that they need?
I have earlier on talked about the system being completely broken. Retirees should access their money as soon as they retire. It is not the case. In the case of teachers who retired a certain time and have not been paid, the court has ordered, I don't know how many times, and they have not been paid. It's about aligning government priorities. The government owes money, not just to international financial institutions and other lenders, but also through internal borrowing that is not sustainable. It is possible to pay retirees if we align our priorities with our needs and stop opulence, stop being wasteful. So these are matters that will be given priority. It is very distasteful to deny retirees their money, and many actually die without accessing their money. This is not what a responsible administration should do. It's a matter that must be prioritized.
Okay, and on a light note, we know you're going to be coming to the DC area, and a lot of people are curious on where you're going to be. And I think Jimmy Okangi had posted
Howard University.
the places where you're going to be. Please post that. Please post that again. Now, in the engagements in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, are there specific ones where you'll primarily be engaging Kenyans? Because I can see there's universities and I can see there's other places. Are there ones where you'll primarily be engaging Kenyans one-on-one for those who want to talk to you, ask you questions? Do you have that type of engagement in DC?
We're trying to arrange that. I have that talk at Howard University. I have a sitting that is going to be arranged by both Kenyans and Ugandans in Maryland.
Okay.
And some friends are trying to see if we can also have some engagements in Baltimore.
Okay.
As soon as it's ready, it's confirmed, it will be posted.
Okay.
Yeah, because a little buddy told me you'll be coming to Baltimore.
Yeah. Because Baltimore, that
Yeah.
is the Kenyan stronghold.
Hapo ndio pale kuna nyama choma.
Yes.
Usidanganywe ni
Yeah.
nyama choma.
Utapata nyama choma.
That is one of the reasons I'm coming there.
All right. Asante sana, Honorable Martha Karua. We look forward to seeing you. And thank you so much for taking your time to have a conversation with us. And we look forward to seeing you when you come to the DC area. And then you'll also be heading to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. Is that correct?
It's correct. And thank you so much for having me and for understanding that my time is under pressure because I'm here for a very limited time.
Okay.
Asanteni sana.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
bye.
That was Honorable Martha Karua, live from Boston, Massachusetts. She will be coming to the DMV. She will be going to Atlanta. And I'm not sure if there's any other places, because so far I've seen DC, Maryland, Virginia, maybe Delaware, and Atlanta, Georgia. So let me bring this back to the studio, and apologies, we tried our best. We were not able to reach all the comments, but we appreciate all those people who are asking questions here. Yeah. The time we had planned for a 3-hour show.
Yes, I think maybe in her mind she was thinking 3 hours, but once you get to doing it and talking, so again ni vile pia alikuwa na commitment.
Yeah, and then also I think most politicians in Kenya are used to doing shows that are maximum of an hour.
Yes.
Even if they're going to like a 3-hour show, they will do an hour, and then the next hour there's someone different.
Yeah.
But this is the new format. This is the new format. If you look at even the last presidential elections in the US, one of the mistakes they say Kamala made was she did not go to like the long form content type of platforms.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, she missed out on that. But anyway, back to this Omosh Fire.
Sasa tushambuliwe sasa.
Yes, Omosh Fire. Tuanze na wewe, like what was your take on what Martha? You started very direct with her, and you asked her whether she's gonna be running
for office
in 2027.
Yes.
So, but what was your take
aka
on the
president.
overall interview?
The overall interview to me, I thought went well. I wish there were some things that she could have, and I think I could feel it wasn't Pablo who was it who Jacobo went for the jugular.
Yes, straight.
And I understand where he's coming from, because she's been part of
Jacobo ni yule mzee wa I want it right now. I want it right now.
I don't blame him. She's been part of the political class and process since 1980 down. So basically, in essence, what he was saying is that by now you should be able to tell me and pinpoint what your economics policy structure is looking like, not that you're going to have one. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where, and so it would have been nice for us, and I think people in the diaspora like to have exact things, meaning you have it laid out, and you lay it out to us, and you spell it out, and not in political speak, but in actual black and white. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I will go and I will get OneMic, who is my economic advisor, and he's going to come in and we will do A, B, C, D, and this. So those are the things that people in diaspora want to know. Just so having a general way of answering questions is it's good political speak, sounds very nice optically, but it does not tell me or sway me if I am about to go vote now.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. I also see Jacobo's point. Jacobo is totally unimpressed. Jacobo says such a poor show from the Mkubwa. Jacobo is totally unimpressed. I see.
And there's also the other thing you have to remember. There's underlying frustration with us, A, in the diaspora, B, people who have had to watch the whole Gen Z movement and watch loved ones passing away and all these abductions and so on and so forth. And they, as the opposition, somebody would say that I didn't see you fighting or crying or screaming loud enough.
Yeah.
And now that you're out in Siberia, political Siberia, you're now crying wolf.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so somebody looking at it from that perspective will be like, I'm extremely frustrated. In fact, you should sit down and let somebody else come.
But I think what I was getting from what Martha was saying is the system is so broken.
Yes.
You can't start, like, it's like a car is falling apart. Huwezi kuanza kusema nataka kuangalia radiator fluid when everything else is falling apart. And I think that's what Honorable Karua was coming at. Like, it is so broken that a structure, first of all, needs to be put up. We need to get things together, at least for the engine to start. Because one angalia radiator, the engine can't even start.
But again, it goes back to the whole point of, we understand that it is a broken vehicle. So you're either going to use that vehicle and fix it, or you're going to get a new one.
Yeah.
Mmemaliza, naweza ingia?
Hapana, wewe kwanza.
Hapana, wacha no. Wacha unajua nini?
Haya, ingia. Mika man.
Ingia Mika.
Hapana, unapiga hapa lip service mingi uongo.
Umepewa floor.
Twende kazi Mika.
Go ahead.
So let's go back to this. I'm quite amazed and I'm quite amused hapa nikisikia Omosha akidemand ati sijui more emphasis on how you're speaking, how you're doing. We are in a country whereby we voted somebody who said he has a figment of an idea on how he's going to implement some policies.
Who is we?
Trump.
Who is we?
We. Huko America, huko Nigeria.
I didn't vote for him.
Mimi nimekuambia, you were trying to explain how, and we have Kenyans who are diaspora people who voted for him with his figments of idea. So don't try to put everybody in a position of like demanding nini. And then let me bring you back to home. When Sifuna was here, Okukuna demand such answers.
But Sifuna never said
you were quite okay with the lip service you were serving.
Sifuna never said he was running for president.
Hakuna cha running for president, but Sifuna was in representation of the guy who was going to make a handshake.
No.
So
at that
point
we did.
Wacha Mika malize and then
why are you shook?
I'm not shook. I'm just saying that you're demanding of a presidential candidate is totally different from somebody who is not presidential.
It doesn't. Do you know a secretary general of a party actually speaks more than a presidential candidate?
You know. Mimi nimekuacha uongee.
Si wacha nimalize. Sasa wewe ushasema, ni wewe umenishow, sikio umenishow. Wacha pia mimi nikushow.
Ni show.
Aya. Basically, a presidential candidate stands on a political party. It doesn't matter how much the presidential candidate wants to sell. He will sell majority of what that political party requires for them to sell. So, hawezi kuja kuniambia Sifuna akikuja hapa kupiga lip service, atatuambia vitu nusu ati we can't hold him accountable because he's not a presidential candidate. And listen, right now, Martha Karua has just declared interest in the presidential ticket. She's not a presidential candidate right now. Sasa yeye ni raia kama mimi na wewe. Hata wewe unaweza muasi wote kwa president kesho. Na ule jamaa alikuwa hapa alikuwa sema atakuwa kuna jamaa tunafaa kusponsor kwa president. Anaitwaje?
Ni
Kimani.
Kimani
wa Baltimore. Andrew Kimani, shout out.
Yeah, so tuko sawa si wote. So we cannot start saying here that's actually being hypocritical together kusema the type of answers. Yes, it's true. The media has changed. Our media has changed. It's true, media has changed. But you cannot start being here hypocritical and demand answers from people and then don't demand answers from other people. It's anybody who's in the political divide, whether when MCA, Maka president. The same way when we have local representative politicians in the studio and we hold them accountable and ask them questions, we hold everybody accountable in the same sense. Hakuna cha sijui ni presidential candidate ama nini. So hii wena Yakobo Simba mnajifanya hapa mmekasirika mnataka kuuliza maswali ngumu. Mbona kuuliza Sifuna hizo maswali?
Aya, the number to call 202-683-4570, press star 5 to speak. Hata kama Martha ashatoka, please give us a call. Let us know what you thought about that
Mika
interview.
is not issue-based.
Yeah, so let us know what
His
you thought about that
personality-based.
interview. Ngoja kidogo, Mosh,
Sorry.
we'll give you a chance to talk. Let us know what you think about what Martha Karua, said during the interview. Of course, we were planning for a 3-hour show, but because, some engagements were coming up on the go, she was only able to give us an hour,
Yes.
which we are appreciative of.
Correct.
But giving a call 202-683-4570, press *5 to speak. I saw Irungu Horton was tuned in from all the way from Los Angeles, California. Someone has told me that he's gonna be coming to the DMV, so do not be surprised if we are able to get a chance to
We have a caller.
to talk to him in the studio. So if we have a caller, I think we are gonna go to the caller first.
Ebu check and see. It might be Mika's number.
Yeah, Mika might be calling to speak
He
again.
might be calling again.
Hey,
Aya, sawa.
Maybe I'll just talk over you.
Okay.
Sawa,
Aya, sawa,
Mikazi.
Mika. Aya.
I take the call.
Yeah, let's take
Yes,
the call.
yes,
Let's
yes,
take the
yes.
call.
Welcome.
9503. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show.
Tell us your
Welcome to
name
the
and
One
where
Man
you're
Show.
calling from, please.
Hey, hapa atakuja na fujo.
Thank you very much. My name is Jacobo Simba and I'm calling from Philly.
Okay. Aya.
Yes, Yakobo.
Yakobo,
Unaona vile
Yakobo,
nimechukua
Gavana
mamishale.
mmoja amefurahi.
Unaona vile nimechukua mamishale.
Sasa mpatieni Yakobo nafasi
Sorry,
azungumze.
sorry.
Mika, mpatieni Yakobo nafasi azungumze. Yakobo, talk to us.
I support Phil.
Nimesikia sana. In fact, Mika, first of all, I want to correct you that just because we did not hold one politician accountable doesn't mean we don't hold another one accountable. So your point yako iko out to
Mimi nimesema hold everybody accountable.
because we
Okay.
no, don't nimalize kwanza.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Okay,
asked
Yakobo.
Honorable Martha Karua, who I really respect. Of course, she's been in politics for a long time. She's a veteran. The question was very simple. It was open-ended. Nikamuuliza, ukichukua ofisi, which policy? Sikusema uniambie vitu general kuhusu economy, no. A very simple question. Name a policy of your choice, nearly in the economy. And when she answered the economy question, she said, I'll find an economy that works for people. Seriously. You are a vet, you are a double vet, and you are a lawyer. You're saying you will find an economy that works for people. You're the Jibo. And then she ended it by saying, join parties and build parties. Really? So you're giving us political speech. In fact, the whole night she's been giving us political speeches. And I think that this is the problem. They're not used to media people like us, like Ali and them, and you people in the studio, pushing against some rhetoric that is just BS. It's just mediocre, not BS, but mediocre.
Yeah,
It's mediocre. And when I did it, the gentleman after me did, she started kungavia. We kama kuna beta kuja bosuseme. Imagine. They have the same scheme. They're the same people. Nwanda Taure, who's been there for 2 minutes, is doing better than everybody in the continent. This is the problem here.
Now, Jacobo, let me bring in something here, and you have a very, very good point that you bring up. But here's the thing, because I'm also I'm kind of like you the way I look at these things. I want to hear issues, I want to hear policies, I want to get tangible solutions to the problems that we currently have. However, when you look at this in the broader picture, is that the people like you and I who are very hard policy oriented, we have sort of failed to learn politics, because I think the problem that's there in Kenya is that we have the policies and then we have the politics. The politics is the one that's winning election. The policies, they're good to hear, but most of the time, like Jacobo, I'll tell you, if we start engaging, let's say like me and you, we go on YouTube or any platform, we start engaging on serious policies, tutapata 10 views. But if we go and we start engaging on siasa ya ukabila, ya matusi, like these things that are said in political rallies, we're gonna get so many views. And I hate saying this, but unfortunately, we need to have an electorate educated, because what's moving the electorate is this exciting stuff. Because look at the way Zakayo is repackaging himself. Look at the way he's repackaging himself, going to different parts of the country, getting people coming to his rallies, and you're even seeing people even starting to change their minds. So I think we need to find a balance where, because I think like having followed Martha for a long time, I think she's in the dilemma of where she's she's very good at policy. She's a lawyer. She's been in parliament. But I think she has the dilemma of when I speak, if I speak too much policy, how many people are going to listen to me? How many people are going to follow me? Because remember, she tried to run for governor, Kirinyaga County. Think about it. Against one of the most corrupt people. What was her name again?
Alleged.
Waiguru. No.
Alleged.
Yeah, against someone who had so many cases, but she still lost. So Yakobo, maybe before we let you go, maybe nikuulize too briefly. How do we bridge this divide whereby we can have policy people talking politics in a way that makes sense to the masses?
Ali, before Jacobo ajibu, Jacobo, there's something I want to add on to what you said. Remember, for the past 3 weeks, I've been saying one thing. The only way we can change this thing, and I'm glad a politician has mentioned it, right? The only way we can do this thing, especially in 𝑍𝒐, bala kujifanya sije tumejaribu kuanzisha party yenu mpya from scratch ama nini, infiltrate these parties and change them, mold them to a point whereby you want them to do. That's a very genuine thing that she said. It might seem like nikana kubrush off, but she's not brushing you off. She vile aliyemesema anafikiria nikianza kuongea about policies, how far will I go? Or simply, another way is this: if things don't work for you, why don't you go inside them and change them instead of trying to kufanya nini, kuifight ama kuanza from scratch? In the same way, if you're told that if you want to fix a problem, face the problem. Once you face the problem, you'll find a solution in that problem. So if people can actually infiltrate those parties, sisi wote sasa tuamue hivi tunasema tunataka ODM. Hapa kwa studio kila mtu ni ODM. Hata uno mtu wa Jubilee na kwangu ODM siku zile ameamua. Once in a while, unaona? So tukiamua sasa hivi tunataka ODM change vile ifanye vile tunataka. Hata plus wewe Jacobo tunaweza fanya.
Okay, Jacobo, give us your closing thoughts and how we bridge that divide.
Yeah, let me answer Mika real quick to say that I actually agree with Mika in terms of participation, but not all of us tumezaliwa kuingia politics. That's something we have to know too. Like kama mimi si mtu nimezaliwa kuingia politics, but can I do my little bit hapa kwa mashinani? Yes, I can do that. But if you are a career politician if you're a career politician like Martha Karua, Honorable Martha Karua, in fact, all she could have done is tell me what she ran on last time, because she ran. And this how can change it today, because we have more unemployment, we have this, we have abductions. Sasa you ndio kama kiongozi, kwa sababu you already have a blueprint. You had one last year. So you just say the same thing you had last year. But a caveat here is that we're running on more than one party, and we are going to change things. So this is just really preliminary. Na inapiga tu story na marafiki zangu. Simple. Amenijibu. But you only asked a question about how do we reconcile the two. There's an easy example. Right now, if Babu Owino runs against Martha Karua, Babu Owino wins that thing easy. Why did I use Babu Owino? I'm not saying he will run. But the point is that Babu Owino akona kazi anaweza kuonyesha amefanya hii, policy, amefanya hii, amefundisha watoto wa shule, amefanya hii. So he can tell you exactly what he did, like project wise. Then unaona basi huyu jamaa akona vision for his representatives. Ama watu wenye anasimamia. But politics pia kwa sawa. Akipiga politics anasema mazao mimi vile kutoka na baba, baba ni baba yangu, hata nikienda wapi, hiyo ni politicking. Unaona? So Ali, that's how I can answer you. We do not always have to say default to politics and politics, because today Honorable Karua could have read the room and said, "Huyu ndio mzee swali anajua what a policy is." Simple. So the room usijifanye wewe ni big and bad. Anatuangalia hivi pale kwa Zoom, anaona she's still bigger than all of us and she doesn't care. The tone of her voice changed. Na kaanza kutumia, that's what I chose. Hiyo ni shauri yako. Hiyo shauri yako. Mimi that's what I chose. That's the tone yenye wanangeje nayo inabugi sana millennials and Gen Z. I don't give a blue tone. Hiyo hata shindo asubuhi na mapema kisimama. That's just how I feel. Asante sana.
Aya, Kobo Simba, asante sana. The number to call is 202-683-4570. The studio is on fire. Yakobo Simba is lighting up.
Anitumie
Simba
imeguruma. Anitumie jazi ya fili.
Is there another caller?
Yes.
Okay.
4518. 4518. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. Name and where you're calling from.
Ni mimi yule unamjua Mr. inaitwa nini hapo, Mr. Bossman. Sijapiga show. I haven't called this show before.
Okay. Okay.
But anyway,
And Mr. Bossman, where are you calling us from?
Mr.
Bossman.
Yeah, Mr. Bossman, where are you calling us from?
I am calling from the northeast streets of Prince George's County, Maryland.
Okay. Wherever you're just around the
He's
corner.
in the backyard. In fact, he might be at the door.
You might just buy us some Swahili Village after this.
Tukutane huko.
Huyu ni prezi wetu. Prezi wetu si pia toka Maryland ama.
Enyewe.
Ukisikia kelele ya radio si barafu, si wakujui.
Aya, talk to us, Bossman.
Amejita nani? Mr. Bossman.
Mr. Bossman. Yeah.
No, I wanted to say, I kind of agree with what Mr. Badawi said. You know, there's a big disconnect. And at the end of the day, politics always wins. Policy, how many voters in Kenya understand policy? Unaenda huko in my village, huko chini in Bomet, nobody understands policy. All they want is, huyu tutampea kura, akikuja kunipea 1,500, na nijengee choo, and a few things here and there, give me some crumbs. So, I agree with Badawi. Politics, how do we get the policy in there with the politics? I think young men like Moala have really tried. They did good by trying to push a message in what he was doing with Vampire Diaries. You understand? You know, there's something policy in there that's also where the money goes and where the money didn't go. You know? That's my comment. Asanteni sana.
Okay. Haya, tukutane hapo Swahili Village.
Swahili Village.
Lakini unajua
Bossman.
Amesema ukweli na kitu moja kwa ground.
Yes.
Kwa ground ndio kwa the most important part ya kufika. And that is why kuchange narrative ya kwa ground, right? Watu wanafaa kuinfiltrate hizo parties ndio ifike mahali hizo parties zinafundisha watu kwa ground kuna kitu ya maana kushinda kupewa 50 bob ama kupatiwa mahindi gorogoro moja ama kupatiwa nini. Because unajua mimi kama niko na njaa,
hebu ambia OneMic gorogoro ni nini?
Digidhia.
Sorry. Haya.
Mimi kama niko na njaa na unakuja unipatie food, unipatie dough, unipatie njia ya kukula ya kunifikisha kesho, niamke kesho kutoka. Mbona sitakupatia kura?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you, Mika. Your politics, your ground is where there's a disconnect. There's a very, very big disconnect. And I personally, you know, I'm coming to terms, you know, like over the years, because pia mimi nimekuwa to a policy, and I sometimes wonder how come people are not understanding. You know, like it was very clear to me that Ruto was not good for Kenya. It was clear as daylight, you know, like, and I was wondering, what exactly is it that he's telling people down there that he's getting so much support? And that's where Watu policy have failed to learn politics. You know, 2007 elections, Ndi has become kind of old and a bit deranged and crazy, but there's something he said that I once paid attention to. He said in 2007, Ruto learned something. Because remember, 2007 elections, it's now quite clear. Even the people who are on Kibaki's side will agree that Baba won that election. The 2007 election. Everybody will agree that Baba won that election. So I think what Ruto learned from that, because Ruto at that time was on Baba's side.
Correct.
In ODM. But what Ruto and Uhuru learned from that election is that you're never going to win a Kenyan election through good policies. That is what they learned. And I was like, bing. You know, like I had never thought about it, because when you think about it, Kibaki had all, you know, like the good policies, you know, like revenue collection. He had everything.
And he was coming out of a very good economy.
Yeah, and he was coming out of, he came into a very bad economy, and he came out to a very good economy, of course, until 2007. But the biggest lesson that was learned in 2007 was that you're not going to win a Kenyan election through policies. And that's why the way Uhuru and Ruto branded themselves for the 2013 election, it was all about what is popular. It was all about
ties,
populism.
white shirts, cuffed up.
Yes, it was all about
and
populism.
high-fiving.
Yes, and they won that election, and then they did it again in 2017. They won it. Now the thing is, Uhuru had gotten a master's, but Ruto went and got a PhD in that kind of politicking, and he went ahead with the hustler narrative and won the 2022 election. However, I think the turning point, in as much as things calm down later, I think was a Gen Z revolution. Yes. And right now things are still unclear. I think what the Gen Z revolution pivoted Kenyan politics towards is that you can no longer win a Kenyan election through extreme populism. We went all the way to the other side. Because time ya Kibaki ilikuwa policy, then things have been going down to politics. Now everything is political. Everything, you have a possible revolution, you're looking for a political solution, you're looking for a handshake, you're looking for so now
for the first time.
Yes, Mika.
For the first time, all political analysts are clueless of where the country stands.
Yes.
That is why we have Ruto chasing refugees and giving ideas to Northeasterners who are voting, like try to look for a new voter bloc.
Yes.
Right? That's why we have him panicking, moving to all parts of the countries. So they're trying everything. They're trying to do the old school politics, and they're also trying something new of looking for new votes. Because nobody knows right now where, like, you cannot go anywhere and check the temperature of that area and say it's clearly who you.
Yeah, it is not easy, and we'll get some surprises. I think, Mike, you're saying there's a caller.
Yes, we have a caller here. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. 8227. 8227. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. Name and where you're calling from.
Welcome to the One Mic Show.
8227.
Hey, VP. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Uni Rasvik. I'm calling from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Okay, Rasvik from Houston. Karibu sana. Talk to us, Rasvik.
Is in Mass.
Oh, Mass.
No, Worcester, Massachusetts.
Oh, Worcester.
Worcester.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That one is hard to pronounce. But talk to us, Rasvik.
Yeah, poa sana. Yeah, I was just listening to what you guys were talking about Kirinyaga. And unfortunately, I think what happened to Martha and Kirinyaga was our politicians sometimes, they defend what is convenient for them. If you remember the Kibaki violence situation, that time she was representing Kibaki as an attorney, and it was about voting irregularities, which has never been resolved. Every election we end up with Nusumkate, we end up with handshake. Now we have broad-based government. So until this situation is solved, I think our elections will just be a scam. Most of our politicians, every time when things are convenient for them, whoever the other bad president or the other bad politician becomes, like, he gets sanitized. Like right now, ODM has sanitized Ruto. Ruto is like mweupe kama pamba as per ODM definition. So I think going into 2027, it's about time Kenyans need to come together and assess themselves and ask themselves, like, what do we really want? And do like a massive drain the swamp. I think we should start right from our MCAs, our MPs, our governors, and start holding these individuals accountable. If ground is saying that, oh, it's time that we want Ruto to be impeached, and the ground has reasons as to why that Ruto, whoever the president or whoever the governor is at that time, needs to be impeached, I think that is the That is what our MPs or senators are supposed to be representing. They are supposed to be representing people, not to act like agents of the president. That, okay, Gachagua needs to go. Anapelekwa nyumbani asubuhi na mapema. And we saw how effective our parliament can be, how they sent Gachagua home. I'm not a fan of Gachagua, but our MPs, they just portrayed the stupidity of the highest order, being like a rubber stamp of, of a president who wanted to send Gachagua home. So what I can urge Kenyans, let's start by holding our MCAs, our governors, our MPs, our senators accountable. Are they representing the will of the people? If they're not representing the will of the people, there's that mwalimu who is always like a volunteer. Kitu kifanyika unapata watu wanauliza, mwalimu ameshajua, ama chairman amejua, ama whoever in their local community. That to go to person. This to go to person, they normally help their community, and they don't even get paid. And some of them go even above and beyond to help in different levels. Kitu yote kifanyika is like India nakimbiliwa. I think it's about time we identify this kind of people and push them and do all it takes to ensure that they are elected so that they can represent us in whatever capacity that we want them to represent us. And that will help us change institutions. Because if we don't change institutions, then Kenya itakuwa tu useless tu vile iko tu.
Wow. That's very painful. Ati Kenya iko useless.
You know what he means.
I know.
Yeah,
I
unfortunately,
get it, but
it sounds
if
so
watu
sad.
Kirinyaga wanaweza chagua Waiguru over Martha Karua, kuna shida. If kuna wale watu wanaweza chagua mtu kama Sudi, engineer, kuna shida. I'm very sure hiyo area Sudi anatoka, they can have somebody better than Sudi. Sudi only shows up to parliament sazila ameambiwa aende a vote. Yes. And he ends up voting for even things that ajui hata inamaanisha nini. So if we end up having this kind of people representing our communities, kuna shida kubwa sana.
No, shida iko
Rasvik. We just have to call it what it is.
Shida iko Rasvik, lakini unajua shida ingine pia iko wapi? Unaona hao watu ambao wanaelewa sera, watu ambao wanaweza kudadisi na wakakagua na wakaandika sera na hawa watu wamekataa kujifunza siasa. Because there's something hawa kina Sudi, hawa kina Waiguru, and these are the politicians who are beating the good people. There's something that they're doing on the ground that the others are not doing. And you see, just because you're good in policy, you cannot just be showing up like 3 months before elections and telling people, vote for me. There has to be some consistency. So I think we need to find a solution whereby we capture people. Tunajua kama you are the good person. Okiwa Mtata, kuja hapa. We will force you to run for this seat. I think that's what needs to happen. And by forcing you to run for this seat, it means that we are going to assign you someone who's going to teach you the ground politics that you need to understand. We're going to get financing for you. Wewe kazi yako ni you're going to be running for this seat. Because if you just show up, if you're a Johnny Come Lately, one of those people who shows up and then unasema you want to compete with an Oscar Sudi, he's going to defeat you at 6 a.m. in the morning, unfortunately. And I think there was a comment here from Wanjeri. Alikuwa nasema, I think I missed that comment, about people people on the ground knowing policies. Yes, and people on the ground. In fact, ukenda kwa hizi bunge la mwananchi na nini, people are very familiar with some of these policies, the finance bill. But go back to what Mika said. Hunger will affect how you think. Kama hujawahi kuwa na njaa, kama hujalala, we niulize sasa mimi who we fast for 30. And imagine, this is just one day. We are fasting, day by day, usiku tunakula. So now there are people in Kenya who wako Ramadan every day, not because wanataka kufunga, but because they just don't know where they'll get their next meal.
Alafu huyo mtu akona mtoto pia anamwangalia hivi.
Akona mtoto anamwangalia. So no matter how well this person understands policy, he's on survival instinct. And he will respond to whoever is addressing his survival
immediate needs. Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
So mimi nakwambia njaa ni kitu mbaya sana, and that's why with us your Ramadhani 30 days, it disciplines you, it teaches you a lot, because sometimes, especially when Ramadhani nakuja sama, hizi zingine they are manageable. When Ramadhani nakuja sama, where the starting time is like before 4 a.m. No, it's around 4 a.m. And then time ya kufungua ni kama 8:45. Unajua nafika time where unaanza kuangalia, sometimes unaona vitu mbili. You know, like
unaona mirage.
Yes, unaanza kuona mirage where there is no mirage. And you're thinking about it, this is just one day. There's someone who's probably gone 2 days or 3 days.
Hana maji.
Hana chakula. Yani hajui kule nini itatoka. And then unamwambia huyu mtu policy. No matter how smart this person is, no matter how educated he is, he will react to their most immediate needs.
So unasema I should apologize to Mika?
Well, sasa Mika, I don't know njana Mika inatoka wapi. But anyway, let's allow Rasvik to have the last one.
Last one, because you've got a few callers.
Mika has a point.
No, he has a point, and I'm going to add on to what Mika said.
Yeah.
But I think it was Rasvik.
Yeah,
Rasvik, last word, and then we'll go to the next caller.
Last word.
Yes. Okay, so I totally agree with you, Ali and Mika. So, how can we change this mentality? That is the question that we need to ask ourselves. Because if this mentality is not changed, then we will never resolve anything. We will end up, just ending up electing these useless politicians who feel that they owe us. We owe them because they gave us handouts. But if we can change this mentality and build institutions that work. For example, here in the US, unaweza kuwa situation moja una job, unaweza apply unemployment. Unemployment hauendi kwa MCA wako ama MP wako. Kuna department ina deal na hiyo, na wataki kujua kama we ni Republican, Democrat. If you don't qualify for unemployment, una apply your department ya state ya unemployment. If you don't qualify, if it's denied, kuna other options. Kuna hii department of transition. Hii inasaidia watu na either food stamp ama pesa ya kujisaidia kulipa tu bill tudogo ama kulipa hao until you get back on your feet, upate job. Kama unapata difficulty ya kupata job, wako na
training,
hizi apprentice bali wanakuteach hata kufanya kazi fulani ya mkono, wanakusaidia kupata job ili uendelee kusaidia community. So it's about time that we change our politics, whereby we don't have to depend on our politicians for development or for any project. Kama sahi angalia 𝑇𝒊𝒂𝒔, hata naibu ati anazunguka Kenya mzima, anaenda kuzindua development. It's so shameful. Na kuna cabinet secretaries, kuna watu wa mkono wale wanaweza kuwa na deal na vitu kama hizo. So tutoke kwa hii old mentality, ili president anatuweka situation moja ni kama lazima alambwe ndio tupate mradi. I'm just trying to use kind word.
Clean language.
Hiyo ndio kitu inafanyika. Yeah, I'm using clean language. So unapata sahi wimbo ya prezi ni kama hamwezi pata maendeleo yote. It's about time we change this presidency to be so useless, to be ceremonial. Unacheki kama US right now. A few months ago, Trump signed so many executive orders. Right now, zote ziko kotini zina stall. So by the time hizi kesi ziishe, term yake hata itakuwa imeisha. Most of them hata aweza kuziimplement 100% kwa sababu we have institutions that work. So it's about time we start educating our people that if we can change institutions, then hatutakuwa tunaenda sijui kuomba basari kwa MP. You know, education inakuwa bure kwa sababu Department of Education ni bure. Kama mimi shule watu wangu wanapewa mpaka bagi ya vitabu. Like mimi natuma tu mtu aende shule. Kalamu, kitabu, kila kitu wanapewa. Ile time ya nini ya kusoma from home walikuwa wanapewa laptop za shule. Like wewe kama mzazi tu ile kitu wanakuhimiza ni make sure mtu akosangi shule. Hiyo ndio kitu wanakuhimiza. Alafu pia encourage mtu kulearn, you know, saa zingine anakuja na homework unamsaidia. So hizo ndio vitu inakuwa kazi rahisi.
Sawa
mzazi afikirii sijui ati niende kwa
sawa. Asante Razvik.
Okay
Razvik. No,
asante sana Razvik. Kuna callers wengi sana.
Kuna callers wengi boss.
Kuna watu wako in line all the way from Boston.
But hizo point umeleta point za nguvu sana.
Yes.
Umeleta point za nguvu sana.
Very relevant.
Aya Razvik, asante. So let's see what we have.
Razvik amesema
naendelea kusikiza show.
Sawa boss. Haya. 5027. Thank you for calling the OneMic show. By the way, guys, don't worry, we're gonna get to you. We can see the numbers lining up over here. So 5027. Thank you for calling the OneMic show. Name and where you're calling from.
Hey, my brothers, OneMic show. It's Jimmy from Texas.
Okay, Jimmy, karibu.
Jimmy from Texas, karibu sana.
Jimmy from Texas, karibu sana.
Yes, talk to us. Mbona mjamfikisha Honorable Martha Karua Texas?
You know, that's why I call in. Because nyinyi mnatupiga mawe na Martha Karua anakuja hapo kwenu. Sasa tunashangaa sisi tunapaswa kupiga mawe sana. But you guys are going to be having Martha Karua. But I'm very appreciative. First of all,
hey, tunampiga mawe aje? Tuweze kumpiga mawe. Wewe.
Mnapiga mawe.
Hapana.
Nasema hii ngoja niongee. Ngoja hii time yangu sasa.
Haya, sawa Jimmy.
Very happy by the way. I'm very happy first of all to actually even give her this space to speak to the diaspora. One, I'm a very strong person when it comes to the diaspora's affairs. One, unajua, Martha was actually supposed to be coming for a whole 3 months. But because of what the events are happening, of which most speakers have stayed here, he actually had to cut her trip to the 2 weeks, which she has actually honorably given us a time to even reach masses in this show. So I'm very appreciative for you guys hosting her. And also, kunajua kuna watu wengi wameongea, you know, politics. And I actually am a politician, by the way, just to say that for the records. I'm a politician. I've run both in the U.S. and actually in Kenya. In Kenya, I've run from 2007 up to the current. Hapa kwa city yangu hapa in Anna, I actually ran for an MCA seat. We can tell you guys.
Yes. So Jimmy akona experience. In fact, we need to interview you. You're one of the few people who's run in both countries. I think you might be the only one. I don't know anyone else who's run in Kenya and in the US. So maybe, maybe
experience.
I think, and I ran from Trumpa city, whereby 80% of my neighbors are Trump, and I ran under Democratic ticket. And I actually managed to be the second, which I actually won, but because of the Trump, and actually I ran when Trump was the president. But here's the thing I wanted to say this to this show. let me tell you guys, the fact that, we can all, and actually I actually meant to call because of the policy question. And Ali Badawi, you made it very clear, by the way. Our people don't care about what you tell them about the policy. What they care about is, what can you give them there? Ni pesa ngapi unawapatia? That is our masses. So I actually feel like Honorable Martha Karua gave a very good policy to the show about what she wants to do for the Kenyans. What she actually didn't emphasize more is the fact that Martha Karua is actually the only candidate that has actually implemented a diaspora policy. What that means? What that means, she said that she spoke to Kalonzo Musyoka about the same. Martha Karua, what she wants to do is to make sure that the most populated cities in the United States and Europe and Canada that have access to polling stations, that you guys for example, for myself, I don't have to fly from Dallas to Washington or to Los Angeles to go vote. I can do it right here. Martha Karua also believes in the fact that the foreign policy, Kenyan foreign policy, that all the missions, be it in the UK, be it in Saudi Arabia, be it in Canada, be it here in the United States, that we need to have our own diaspora, people who understand our local issues here, are the ambassadors in foreign missions. That is a big thing for me, and I think it's a big thing for all diaspora people. So when we talk about policy, we have to actually put a red line. Who are candidates that actually care about the diaspora? In my case, I think Martha has shown a very strong front to that effect. Now, she happened to be here to launch our party and actually to give some speeches about Kenyan culture and Kenyan politics in most of these institutions that she has done. You people in Washington, she will be in Delaware, Washington, and some part of New Jersey. People are very happy and receptive. As she said, we are going to have some cells. This small time that she's here, we will need to engage. And Ali Badawi, you just rightfully said, maybe when she's there, she will pop up in your show. That is what we need to be working towards to. But I am so happy. I know there are so many listeners.
Yes.
I want
very many callers.
Call.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Okay,
Yes.
Jimmy, na tutaongea baadaye. We need to also interview one day as the only Kenyan who's run both in Kenya and in the US.
Too.
Yeah.
Na
If
lazima-
there's anyone else who's
Yeah.
ever done that, send me in the comments. I don't know anyone who's done that. So I think
Mosh has done that.
Aye.
Make a see me after
Thank you,
class.
thank you, Jimmy.
See me
Thank you,
after
Jimmy.
class.
Jimmy, asante sana.
Aya,
you,
we
Jimmy.
have here 3600 3600. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show.
Welcome to the One Mic Show.
Tell us your name and where you're calling from, please.
3600.
Going once.
Ni mshai.
Oh, hiyo ni jina yake ama ye ni shy?
Yeah, man.
Yani shai.
Imeenda.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
let's pick the next one.
Aya.
Maybe they thought they waited too long.
Yeah. Okay, let us see. Did I do 5027?
No.
5027 doesn't sound familiar.
No.
5027. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. 5027. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. Name and where you're calling from. looks familiar. Could be wrong.
I think mnanipenda sana. That's Jimmy.
Very relaxed.
Kwa sababu nikata na sikuwa nimemaliza na Mungu amewaambia tu mnilegeshe. Mniache nimalize.
Ngoja tu twende kwa queue alafu tutakurudia.
Sawa.
Yeah.
I think that one 5027. Okay, let's see if this one is a blocked number. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. Hello?
With your blocked number.
Blocked number?
Tell us who you are and give us your social security. No, sorry. Welcome to the One Mic Show.
Going once.
Wewe almost. Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Wairimo, I'm calling from the West Coast.
Are you the one who asked the question?
Coast ya Magharibi ni mimi.
Nice. We finally get to hear your voice.
Huyu Coast wa Magharibi.
I know, niko hapa. Yeah. By the way, thank you so much, you guys, for hosting Mheshimiwa Karua. She's a very wonderful lady. I really admire her. Lakini, listening to her, and she's very measured in the way she answers. She's very careful, trying to cross all the T's, dot all the I's. Lakini, that's not Kenya. And she's not just that way here. I mean, that's how she talks in Kenya. Nilikuwa namsikiliza nasema, I wish we still had that Ministry of Justice in Kenya. She would be perfect there. Lakini hizi siasa za kuchafuana Kenya, mi hapo sioni kitoboa. And I really like the lady. Lakini, and then also it matters who your opponent is. 2027 will be rough and tumble. I really do not know. And then I was just really trying to think who her base is. I don't know who the base is. You know, hata nikiangalia, you know, like the people that came to her book launching and all that, you know, ni watu sasa kama sisi tuko hapa kwa platform. We understand, we're talking about policy, we're talking about all that. Sijaona watu wa mashinani wakimfuata. And that's going to be tough. I mean, those are not Kenya politics. You really, really need to be able to get in touch with the base.
You know.
Kama hizi safaris.
Warimo, you before you proceed, you know, somebody asked me, is Kenya ready for
a woman,
female president, a woman president?
No, I mean, I don't think
they are not.
I mean, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
We are not, and that's why I started with saying she reminds me of Clinton in 2016. Clinton was a brilliant woman, but you would hear a lot of people saying they cannot connect with her, but they had no reason. You know, people would say, oh, she just doesn't speak to me. Why? Nobody wanted to come out and say, yeah, I can vote for a woman. But they kept saying, even Kamala, some people are saying they can't connect. But with Karua, a family member who is 25, a male, was saying she seems too harsh. She reminds him of his primary school teacher.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, she reminds these young people. And that's the voting generation. So when these young men said, oh my gosh, she reminds me of my headmistress, of my principal, that's not a good thing, because you want a candidate that will connect with, you know, how younger Gen Z. Because how ndio wamebeba kura, how ndio wamebeba, I don't know what percentage, a huge percentage.
They're big. It's a huge.
And that's why I'm saying I really wish we had, you know, like that Ministry of Justice, and then, you know, form it in a way where it can actually prosecute, where we can prosecute all these people. But for the presidency, not in Kenya and not in 2027. It's a very different match. We have somebody here who will fight tooth and nail to stay there. And is our dear Martha Karua ready for that? Yeah, kwa hivyo, you know, I hope she has a good ground team. And then another problem, kuna watu wengi sana with the same ideology who have announced that they're running. We have Matiang'i, we have
Okia.
We have John Jage. Sijui namkumbuka John Jage, the one who had been abducted.
The one who had been abducted, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's very compelling. Find the interview he's done. He's very
Maraga,
compelling. And then we have Ruben Kigame. I like him a lot. And then we have, who else do we have? We have like 5-6 people with similar ideology.
Yeah.
𝐷𝘩𝘁
is also
We have Morara.
Yeah.
And 𝐷𝘩𝘁 is also there. And all these people are saying, I will not be anyone's running mate. So if we have all these other people, we're just declaring Ruto a second term.
But you know what's a silver lining, Wairimo, when I look at 2027? The silver lining is the leading candidates right now are so unpopular within their own bases. Forget about even outside their bases. They are so unpopular within their own bases that I hardly think, I predict we're going to have our first runoff. Meaning no one will hit 50%. And you know yes, and you know what it means when no one hits 50%? It means kura wibiwa when the margins are close. But if the margins are far off from 50%, I think we'll have to go for a runoff. Now, if we go for a runoff, whoever is number 3 becomes the new king. Whoever is number 3 becomes the new king. And I think that might help us. So let's say it's okay.
No, in a runoff, it becomes a match of the top 2.
It's a match of the top 2,
right?
But whose votes are they fighting for now?
But
whose votes? Because remember, they never made 50%. So they're hoping the number 3 votes will go and vote for them. And who's holding the number 3 votes?
Their leader.
It's number 3. So number 3, ndo atenda tambia watu wake.
I see what you're saying.
Number 3 becomes the new
I
king.
see what you're saying.
Or she. He or she becomes a new king. So I think that's a silver lining we have, because I still believe that there will be a referendum before the 2027 election. I think they're just trying to find the right time. Right now, the public has not marinated well for them to have a referendum.
It is still hot.
Yeah, the public, I think they'll have a referendum, and I think they will add 𝐾𝐾 leader of official opposition, make it official, and then have a prime minister who's appointed by the president. And that's going to be the stick that will be dangled. So, tuseme hata, you know, like whoever wins.
NADCO report.
Yeah, but the NADCO, if they implement the NADCO report, let's say Raila wins. Let's say, hypothetically, let's go by my theory. I'll explain it later, but my theory is Ruto might endorse Raila, and then Raila will win. So if Raila wins and he goes to a runoff, and then Omtata says, okay, but la Kalonzo, we're going to support Raila. So that means Omtata is going to be a prime minister in Raila's government. So the check is going to be inside. Because I think that's what works in Kenya.
But Ali, the length of time that Omtata has been talking to us, do you see him working in Raila's government?
Well, if
Omtata's, I really respect, the line that Omtata has taken. It's very anti-corruption, very anti all these things that Raila seems to be for.
But if he's ndo nasema ikiwa ni hivyo, if he's number 3 and that's what he needs to go do now oversight from the inside, that's just what might need to happen. Because guess what? If Ruto endorses Baba and then Baba wins, and then he makes Baba becomes president, and then he makes Ruto prime minister. Now Ruto has a full 5 years, because like the theory that I'd come up with is that's what might happen, because Ruto is playing the long game. He knows Baba is in his 80s and he wants to inherit Baba's base. And if he endorses Baba's and Baba wins, imagine the base of Baba that has been waiting from 1997. Nani Ruto ndo alimpatia hiyo kiti. They will forever be indebted to him, and he's going to inherit Baba's base. Now, once Ruto inherits Baba's base...
And those are a lot of numbers in parliament.
Those are a lot of
when
numbers.
you have those numbers, you can do anything.
Now, once you have those numbers, you amend the constitution, make a presidential term 7 years, make it 3 terms, then Ruto comes back from 2032 to 2039, then from 2039 to 2046. Some of you will be either eating your 401k, or those who did not save a 401k, they will be crying in the toilet.
In other words, politics makes
talking about 401k. Leo nilikuwa nimengoja, leo nilikuwa nafikiria hii ndio itakuwa topic leo.
No, Martha was here.
Talk back it.
Martha was here, so tukasema, let's make an exception because it's very rare for her to be here.
Thank you, Erimo.
But okay, thanks. What and what wengine. Bye.
Thank you so much, Wairimu.
We have a call.
Hopefully she comes to West Coast, Wairimu.
Yeah.
Yes. By the way,
I hope I'll reach out to
Wairimu, real quick before you go. Utakuwa LA7.
Sijui.
Aujui. You're not that side. You're not that side of California.
She's not telling us because she's telling us somewhere in the West.
Okay.
Niko northern California.
Sacramento.
Yeah, niko hapa Bay Area. SF area.
Huko ni mbali. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Mbali.
So now.
All right, buddies. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So now, I am looking at an Australian number over here.
Okay. Hey, Australia, you have to give them
Australia.
a shot.
How do you know it's Australia? Unajua area code?
Wacha. Thank you for calling the OneMic Show. Australia.
Hey, Karibu.
Name and where you're calling from, please.
Welcome to the OneMic Show.
It's Peter again from Australia. I think we had a chat about maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So I'm calling back again because I like to interact with your show. It's very informative.
Thank you so much,
Welcome, Peter.
Tell us, what you thought about the Karua interview, and talk to us about what's happening in Australia.
Including tariffs.
In Australia, actually, we've got elections coming up. The first weekend of May. It's between a Labour, the current Labour Prime Minister. His name is Anthony Albanese, versus Peter Dutton, who is the equivalent of Republican or Conservative, if you were to use American comparison. So, that's we've got an election in a few weeks as well. So we are looking forward to that, and we'll see how we go. So, look, the reason for my call, I just like to touch on quickly on a few points. I think as Black people, collectively, we are doing as good as we can do according to the technical skills a majority of us have. So, for example, if we were to get to a level where we have very high technical level, technical ability, then our capacity to solve our problems will be improved. So, so we need to really, really entrench ourselves in education. I cannot emphasize that enough. Better education will make us, become technically better, and then if we get technically better, we're able to solve a lot of problems which are plaguing us, even corruption. So that's one part. Another part is I would like to point out, like the DCI, NIS, and the police in Kenya, they need to be overhauled. They are not independent. They don't have, there is a lot of political intervention. So, for example, someone like Nordin Haji, clearly, when Justin Muturi's, son was abducted, apparently there was a situation where where the president called Nordin Haji, and Nordin Haji said he was going to release Muturi's son. For me, that's perjury. That should have been, on Ruto's part, he should have asked why, how long has he been detained? Why is he being detained? But even for Nordin Haji to say, he was going to release him within a few hours, that is, he incriminated himself. So the whole, and under Nordin Haji, we have no arrests, no prosecutions, no charges, no resignations, no sackings in regards to the rampant abductions and forced disappearances. So, Nordin Haji, NIS, DCI, the head of police, they need a complete overhaul. Okay, and another issue I would like to talk about, Raila. I remember in the last election, the post-election violence, Raila said they had filed a case at ICC. Now that Raila is in government, and he has said in a few occasions, Ruto is his friend, Ruto sponsored his AUC bid, I would like to know whether what's happened to that case at ICC. Is it still there, or what's happened to it? Okay, I also like to say, look, I'm not going to criticize Martha harshly. I would just like to say, from your end, if you know, let's hold everybody equally accountable. If I'm going, before I'm upset at Martha, I will have to say I'm even more upset by Raila because he has failed to do what an opposition should do, and that's hold government accountable. It is no longer good enough for Raila to keep saying, oh, we're not in government, we're not in government. He is an extension of the government. If he is not in government, why he is not demanding accountability? So, Raila has failed to demand accountability. By now, we should have investigations into the extrajudicial killings. We want investigations into why we don't have proper investigations in Kenya. So those are just a few things I would like to just raise. Yeah, and thank you for giving me a platform to speak.
Thank you, Peter.
Now, Peter, before you go, what time is it in Australia?
The time now is 1 p.m. on Saturday.
Well, you guys are ahead.
By the way, I'm just curious. This is a random question. Did you know a gentleman by the name of OBT? Teddy Osano Brown.
What city do you, what city is it in?
I think it was in Melbourne, but I could be wrong.
Hey, but Australia is a
I know
big
it's
country.
It's big, but yeah.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Did you?
Okay.
But I'm sure you found Ramsey Street and the neighbors. I'm sure you found them.
You may not even know Ramsey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, amekumbuka. Those shows, they're all from Australia. Neighbors, and there was another one called Home and Away.
I remember them.
They were all Australian
Wasn't
shows.
there one also like for detectives, like cops and stuff out of Australia?
Maybe that is your time.
No.
Maybe that was in the
There were
60s.
several.
Your time.
There were several. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, more shit.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter from Australia.
Please, Mika, tutapigana later.
Now let me say this. Let me give a big shout out because we have somebody listening all the way from Estonia.
Wow.
Huh?
Misha.
Mwambie aingie kwa simu.
Misha.
Ule msewa
Okutoi.
Ule msewa Manu.
Kenya one huyo.
Oh, Misha.
Okutoi, Misha.
So yuko ushago.
Ameenda Ocha.
Uko ni Ocha.
Huyo ni Ocha.
Hiyo ni Ocha. Akubali tu.
Oklahoma for him.
Salimia Madhe.
Yes.
Pokea salamu, he's listening in. He's like, you guys, I can see you still have your Casio watch on. I'm like, this guy is live inside. Thank you, Misha. Baraka Telega there. Nejaga.
And apparently Estonia is very technically above.
Ikombele.
Yeah. They're actually small countries.
Yeah.
You know, in the European Union, the idea of big countries and small countries has worked pretty well, which I think can also work within Africa.
Breakdown. Yeah, nobody thought it was gonna work, right?
Yes, it has worked pretty well. Like even when Brito Brexited, they thought that the European Union will fall apart. They are thriving. They are still thriving without Brito. Brito are the ones who are now experiencing issues.
So America imefanya UX from the world.
Yeah, I know. America imefanya na hizo na hiyo question ya hizo ma tariffs.
Kwanza, you know, Estonia is a case study for us for voting remotely.
Yeah. They have remote voting.
Yes, and it's anywhere in the world.
And you see, the funny thing is that people can make payments. I work for a company where people make transactions online and buy things worth $90,000.
Yes.
Yeah, online.
Yes.
They buy things worth $90,000 and we trust everything. We trust that you're the one who you say you are. And we trust that when we deliver the goods are delivered to the person who
to the correct maker, not the Misha.
So think about it. If we can trust that $90,000, why is it there's so much mistrust when it comes to
as Kenyans? When
it comes to voting, not only Kenyans, even in the US. In the US, you try to suggest online voting. Hey, that will be such a big problem. But
they have, you know, mail-in, they have whatever. We don't even have those options.
Yeah, we don't have those options. So, yeah, we don't have those options.
And then it's like, okay, even if it's sent in, we don't trust that it's going to go to the right place and it's going to be counted. Yeah. So, you know,
Yeah, so quite a number of comments have been coming here. Bado tuko na watu kwa simu ama
no, we are good now.
Okay.
Oh, no more calls? Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought we were lining up.
No. We have one more.
Oh, yeah. Let's give the caller a chance.
Give the caller 0574.
Okay.
Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. Name and where you are calling from.
Welcome to the One Mic Show.
Super producer Bandio hapa.
Bandit. Uko wapi? Kagera ama
ameingia sexy voice.
Yeah.
But it sounds very muffled.
Niko hapo niko napata massage.
Massage upande gani wa mwili?
Ni kosti ya mashariki huko kwa mwili.
Kosti ya mashariki kwa mwili.
Haya,
mashariki kaskazini, mashariki. Umoja alisemaje? Mashariki
no,
magharibi magharibi.
It was kaskazinia.
Lakini ya Mbelwa, I think ni ya mashariki ya kati. Anyway, Mbelwa Bandio. Mbelwa Bandio, talk to us.
Na mambo mawili hapa. Kwanza ningependa kuaddress, sijaweza kufuatilia the entire interview na Martha Karua, lakini ningependa kwanza kuaddress yeye na team. Kwanza kumshukuru kwa kuweza kuingia hapo, sababu nafikiri kuna watu wana changamoto sana ya kutaka kuamini media za kwenye diaspora. Kwa hiyo moja, nafikiri ameweza tunashukuru ameweza kuamini na kuingia katika muda alioingia. Pili, natamani kama angeweza kurudi kabla hajaondoka. Nafikiri ameweza kuona kwamba kuna watu wengi na watu wana kiu, lakini hii inaweza ikawa the only way ambayo inaweza ikaguarantee kukutana na watu mahala ambako hawezi kufika. Yule Mkenya mmoja aliyeko Iowa, yule Mkenya mmoja aliyeko wapi huko
Indiana,
kwenye sehemu ambazo hawezi kwenda, bado anaweza akaconnect, anaweza akaulizwa, anaweza akajibu, anaweza akaongea naye kupitia the One Mic Show.
Yes.
Na sio tu tunapozungumzia diaspora, tumetoka kuongea na Peter kutoka Australia. Na huyo Peter ndiye ambaye ameweza kucall, lakini kuna views ambazo sisi kwa upande wetu kama team ya the One Mic Show tunaweza tukaonyesha na kuprove kwamba viewership ni worldwide na ni diaspora. Kwa hiyo kwanza nimeshukuru kwa kuweza kujiunga, lakini pili arudi, kwa sababu kuna watu wengi wa kuweza kuongea nao, kuna watu wengi ambao wana base nyumbani, kuna jamii hapa ambayo inaweza ikawaambia watu wao ambao wanatumia zile za wave na nala na nini, na kuweza kuongea nao. Kwa hiyo kuna ushawishi, kuna influence katika diaspora, na akiweza kuongea nao vizuri nafikiri anaweza kufanikiwa. Sasa mtu wa pili nizungumze, Ali, nimesikia hapo ukizungumza kuhusiana na what need to change. Na hii sio Kenya tu, Afrika Mashariki unazungumzia kuhusiana na watu ambao wameshinda na njaa. Challenges, kuna watu ambao wameshinda na njaa kwa sababu wameshindwa kumanage opportunities zoko mbele yao. You don't want to give those people country kama wameshindwa ku run opportunities zao binafsi na pia familia. Changamoto kubwa kwenye nchi zetu ni kwamba hatuwaandai watu kuwa wanaotaka kuwa. Unajua, matokeo yake ni kwamba tunakwenda na ile kitu ya huyu ametoka katika familia ya kimaskini. Akishapata pesa anaacha umaskini na anatusahau. So unfortunately it's a very long process ya kuwabadilisha hawa watu, kwa sababu the quickest way ya kubadilisha uongozi ni vita, but that's the longest way
ya kurudisha civilization katika nchi. So sasa hivi tunatakiwa watu waanze kudeal. I'm glad kwamba Martha Karua amekuja hapa. Uchaguzi ni 2027. Anavyoanza kuongea hapa, unaanza kubuild your reputation. Watu waanze kuongewa, waanze kuongelewa. Anaweza asiwe kuhusu yeye, lakini tungetamani na watu wengine waje waweze kuongea. Lazima uanze kubuild from the bottom up, you know, to change from the shit system that we have now to the system that we need. Unajua, to get away from this the devilment ambayo iko kwenda kwenye government ambayo tunahitaji. Ni kitu ambacho kitachukua muda. Lakini kama ambavyo unaona Marekani, the moment uchaguzi umeisha mwaka jana, midterm election ikaanza. Unajua, watu wakaanza kuangalia huyu ana nini, anakosa nini, atafanya nini. Yes, sera hazilipi nyumbani. It's just because kitu kimoja kinakosekana. Wakati wanajaribu kutengeneza katiba ya Tanzania, they give me an opportunity. Nilipoongea nikasema sisi katiba yetu ingeweza kuwa na neno moja tu, responsibility. Hata hii iliyopo ingekuwa tu ina responsibility ya kujua kwamba askari ana responsibility kwa mwananchi ambaye sio mhalifu, ana responsibility pia kwa mhalifu kwa sababu ndio mteja wake. Kujua kwamba rais ana responsibility gani kwa mwananchi, lakini mwananchi akishapiga kura ana responsibility gani ya kumwandaa ama kumsaidia aliyempigia kura. The problem ni kwamba Ali ukienda ukasimama ukasema nakuja mimi tutajenga choo na nyinyi, tukifanya hivi na hivi tutajenga hapo shule, tutajenga madarasa mawili, kuna funds hapa, tukifanya hivi tutaraise fund, tutafanya hiki na hiki. Akaja OneMic akasema mimi mkinipigia kura msijali, na rafiki yangu atajengea madarasa 8, watamchagua OneMic kwa madarasa 8 kwa sababu anafikiri ataleta. Watakuacha wewe ambaye una real plan ya kushirikiana nao kujenga.
Yep.
So I'm going back to the same thing ambacho nimeshazungumza kabla, kwamba we are living in a world ambayo watu wanataka faida, hawataki mtaji, you know. Anataka akae avune, hataki kupanda, hataki kupalilia, hataki kulima. Unajua? Na ndio ambapo politicians wanaanza kufikiria. Ukienda na kanga, ukaenda na sukari, mtu anakuchagua. Asichowaza ni kwamba utailipa vipi, utajilipa vipi, au umeitoa wapi, kwa sababu ukiangalia pesa hawana. So I think it's the time ya kuanza kubuild from the ground out. Inawezekana tukaonekana kwamba tukiwa tunazungumza haya hakuna mtu anatusikiliza, but trust me, katika nyakati kama hizi, wakati tunazungumza kabla ya uchaguzi kuhusiana na katika chaguzi mbalimbali, watu wanaposema kwamba kuna shida hizi na hizi zinaweza zikawakuta, watu wengi wanakuwa hawasikilizi. Zinapowakuta wanarudi kujuta, lakini na wewe unakuwa una open moyo wako umetulia kwamba sina deni kwa sababu nilisema ambacho nilikiamini. So again, Martha Karua na timu yake, asante sana kwa grace na hii invitation, but please come back kabla mdoka. Mmeweza kugundua kwamba you don't have to be here. Mkiwa Kenya mnaweza mkaschedule, mkiwa hapa mnaweza mkaschedule. Tumefanya interviews nyingi na watu walioko huko, na sio yeye tu, na watu wengine. Tutakuwa tayari hapa kwa sababu we are here for our audience, and diaspora wants to hear from you. That's it.
Haya, asante sana. Anamuita Mubelwa Bandio, mzee wa busara. Mzee wa busara. Au ni kijana? Ni kijana au ni mzee?
Rastwin.
Rastwin sio mapacha, sio nafuata mzee alafu kuna acha kula brown kabla sio kuisha.
Sawa. Asante sana super producer Mubelwa Bandio.
Shukrani.
Yeah.
Mjukuu Paulina.
Yani
you know, that one now has put us in a very good spot, but you know what, like you said, it was a good opportunity to have Iron Lady.
Correct.
Yeah.
Ngojeni. Omwezi leo kuko na hit and miss.
Sasa angalia. Mika sijui ameboeka.
No, Mika I think today ni kama Mika ile ugali na ile nini, I think alikola ile fish head.
It was a fish head, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that fish head, unajua, they always used to tell us eat the head because it makes you clever. Yes. Hapa ndio palimika amefika.
I think hiyo samaki ilikuwa sumbua.
Let me tell you, hiyo kitu imeleta problems. I can just tell you for free. I am a living
lakini ni swali vijana kuko na hit and miss.
We can make hit or miss.
Now we'll make hit and miss, but I think
miss,
yeah, and especially, you know, like we really wanted to have more time
Yes.
Because there was a lot.
There was a lot.
A plethora. A plethora.
Yeah,
Let me tell you.
we had to move.
I feel
we had to move fast.
cheated kidogo, but I'm okay with what we got.
Because there's also that there's somebody asked me a question, like somebody said, why don't you ask about, like now for example, there are those girls who are studying law or want to study law in the diaspora.
Yeah.
And when you tell them Iron Lady, somehow maybe Iron Man. When I get, but who's Mother Karua? Like, just pretty much, addressing at what she has accomplished, what she has done, the stance that she has taken. Like when Ali was reading it, and and I think it's like we make gloss over, like she walked out. She walked.
That like, was a big deal.
Like
I think I think a lot of people don't understand the power that Moi wielded. I mean, you're seeing 𝑍𝑒𝑖𝑚𝒂'𝑚. 𝑍𝑒𝑖𝑚𝒂'𝑚 is nothing right now. Moi was almost like
because speaking of 𝑍𝑒𝑖𝑚𝒂'𝑚, when you look at the my namesakes, my Garana's interview, Garana, Justin B.
Yeah.
Muturi. Like irredeemably. Irredeemably. There's that, like when you have Gachagua coming out, your former DP, that guy, even if as much as he went to the Murima and he tried to bash, and tell him that, he requested for 10 billion, you are trying to put up, you have this audience, and you guys, like vernacular stations listening to the interview. I was trying to listen to that thing, and I'm like,
the difference between these two guys is that 𝑍𝑒𝑖𝑚𝒂'𝑚 kitu atakufanya atakuabduct. Moi alikuwa na kuviolate in public na ungefanya kitu yoyote. There was nothing you could do. Like he wouldn't hide it. Right? Angeza uanza kubadilisha serikali huyu kina Wangamati walikuwa napinywa. Kina Raila hao wenyewe walipinywa live in public, like Matiba akidungwa mercury. So the thing is that the difference is that right now the only thing that 𝑍𝑒𝑖𝑚𝒂'𝑚 has to protect him is the numbers he has in parliament. Hiyo tu. And that's what gives him hiyo nguvu ya kufanya kitu anafanya, to get away unaccosted for it na kuabduct watu. But if you as Alia said, Moi was somebody you could not defy. Ungenungunika chini ya maji, but ungefanya in public. This is something very deep.
Yeah, so that's
and we were all taught that. In fact, you could not even discuss anything to do with Gava, especially after 82 coup.
Unakumbuka ile mbaya saba vile litokea vile ulikuwa ukicheza kwa nyumba unashikwa na polisi. Polisi akipita kikonechezela ngoma ya saba unashikwa.
No, me I had, like I took my parents through some stuff. My mama alitwa shule because of an essay I wrote.
You started.
How old was I?
You started ugaidi kitambo.
11 years old.
You started, and then you were in whose school? Whose school were you in? And then you're over there.
Thinking back. Yani, and like sometimes ukiwa mtoto, there's certain things that you just don't.
The pictures are not
you totally
there. You don't see
get
the
it.
big picture. Then now you're looking back. Just imagine.
Because you see, we used to be punished, like when we go line up Langata Road when Moi is driving, like sijui Romanian president has come and Moi is going to drive with him to go plant at Uhuru Gardens.
Yes.
So all students, the paper flags,
yes.
Sasa kulikuwa na mwalimu who was observing and writing names
of people
who are not complying. Sasa tunarudi shule, unaona list imeandikwa hapo the following. Go outside the principal's office. Unashangaa ala ni nini. You get punished for not waving a flag. And I was like, and me at that time was like, okay, nyewe ni ukweli siku wave your flag. But thinking about it, you're like, why are we getting punished?
And that's the psyche. This is the same people who are future leaders.
Tuko class 1, 2, 3. tunaenda shule mpaka saa 6 alafu tunaenda home. Lakini siku yenye Moi anapita hiyo outer ring road, tumetolewa doni, tunaambiwa hiyo siku msiende home. Kwanza mvae uniform safi mwende doni stage pale outer ring na bendera fanya hivi Moi akipita kiendea. Why? Like ilikuwa it makes sense.
That was a serious dictatorship.
You know, it was so bad that government institutions or government departments had a choir that traveled and went wherever the president was going to speak. And wacha mungwano. Individual units, like let's say it was Ministry of Foreign Affairs or whatever.
They had choirs.
They had choir members who you are only you are hired because you could sing or you could play orutu or you could play the drums. And then
but there, you know, hiyo ni kweli because I think every institution had choir because of the alafu how many of you mlienda kuimbia Moi Nyayo Stadium?
It was
Nyayo Stadium,
ile mass choir.
Yes.
Tukipatiwa big shoes.
And then ni lazima umsifu. Yani there had to be songs praising him, like specifically.
I was a recipient of Nyayo milk and the biscuits, the House of Manji. He used to bring for us House of Manji biscuits, zile box.
Yeah.
The good thing I tell people is this. Me, for Primo, majority of my primary school, Mechanical Primary School, because the vitabu na City Council, ni exercise books.
Yes, yeah.
So I think na the exercise books niko class 6. That is when City Council ilisota hiyo program ikaisha, but liko napoa vitabu zimeandikwa hapo Nairobi City Council Donholm Primary School.
Yes, I remember
ukipatikana na kitabu ya karatasi brand na kiuno unapigwa unakuwa panic, mbona umenunua kitabu na kurejea ya free ya shule.
Yani public schools were doing very well.
It was nice. I remember we used to, you know, not gonna name times, but fee ilikuwa public school 173.
And you know
that was the fee, 173.
And you know, like public schools would compete with private schools, like they would.
Correct.
Yeah.
Academically, you are competing.
Actually, it was harder to transfer to a public school.
It was harder to transfer. In fact, public school walikuwa wapendi watoto wa private because watoto wa private walikuwa na kama problems.
You used to come with you had to be reshaped and retooled so that you learn how to be in a class of 40. Now ulikuwa umetoka kwa class ya 15.
But now what Moi ended up doing, ndo ujueani corruption ilianza mbali. Now like Moi Educational Center, in fact that's a school that was built using public resources. Let me just reveal it right now.
Kwani what was Kabarak built on?
It was built. Me, I went to my educational center, so I don't know about Kabarak.
They were all in the same WhatsApp group.
So now teachers, and don't ask me how I know this, teachers were being poached from Olympic, all these good schools, being brought to my educational center,
including Stare.
And then they are paid by my educational center. And then they're still on the TSC payroll.
Correct.
Yeah.
So wanapata double
salary
yes,
yeah.
That's why they were coming to those schools with no problem.
Yeah.
And they're the people who used to write exams.
Yes.
So these people have all been put under one umbrella, and you don't think the school is going to do well? And they're the ones who are writing the exams.
Obviously, they're going to do well.
Come on. Wako na leakage already.
Staff room unasema, mimi niliandika swali 1 2 3 huyu.
Yes. Yani it was and that's how looting of public resources started. Now it's all over the place. But anyway, we are
digressed.
We've digressed a bit. But I think we were talking about how Martha Karua walked out on Moi, because people hear it nowadays and they're like, okay, so what? But it was a big deal because kwa hizo public meetings there's protocol. You know, like especially if you're sitting in that dais, you cannot leave before there's a protocol. The president is the one who leaves first.
Hata kwenda choo huwezi enda.
Yeah, utakaa tu hapo. And that's why you know, like she's been very respected in that, because in that era there was Martha Karua, and then there was the likes of Wangari Maathai. And Wangari Maathai was also dressed down by Moi a couple of times in public in Uhuru Park.
He did it with everybody, but you know who taught him? Onyato, that's what Onyato did.
Yes.
No, Moi alifundisha
immediate.
Moi alifundisha na Onyato ama, because remember Moi was being humbled by Onyato's guys.
Correct.
The Nakuru Police Commission ule mwenye alipslap na Moi ni vice president, right?
Yeah. Moi akaongoja tu.
Yeah, and then Moi survived. People only know it too, but people don't understand that in 78 when Onyato died, Moi actually survived an attempt again on his life. So hiyo time yenye ndo alikuwa amenini, they knew that Kenyatta's people knew that if he became president, they were gonna suffer. It's a rap. Like na wengi walihepa. But he wasn't that vengeful at that particular time. So 82, he became vengeful after 82 because they went after him twice.
That was straight up, yes.
Yeah, before 82 he was building gabions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He used to do. Yeah, he
was more about development
he built gabions. And he planted trees.
Yeah,
he built gabions and planted trees.
Yeah, 82 is when everything changed, and I think Kenya's history could have been very different if that coup succeeded. And we don't know how it would have turned out. Maybe we should ask ChatGPT one day. How would Kenya's history have turned out if the 82 coup was successful? And Kina Hezekiah Ochuka, President Hezekiah Ochuka.
Which ChatGPT? The one that
Mika
wrote, or the one that is legit?
Hmm?
You know, the one that Mika wrote will give you some other answers.
Well, we'll find out. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that whole thing. I lived through a coup. I remember it. That thing was not funny. And we lived next to State House. It was not funny at all. All those bullets, you could hear gunshots, nini, ume, and then kitu ya kununua chakula daily basis.
Yeah.
Unaenda kwa kiosk, unachukua maziwa, unachukua sijui nini. There was no supply that day. KCC had not delivered.
I think this story I think slays like at what?
You know, so none of those goods were there at the kiosk.
But you know, there was an article I was reading. Kitambo, I can't remember who wrote the article, but the coup was actually a success. It was a success. If it wasn't for General Mahmoud Mohammed.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a success because Moi was already exiting, and you know the people who had said they were going to protect him, it's Pokot warriors. And that's where, that's one thing that I think we need to tap into. You see those guys in the north, the restless north, the Pokots, the Turkanas.
Yes.
I don't know why those guys have not been integrated in the military, because these guys are so good that they knew that the military would not approach them because they were that good with using weapons. So I've never understood why these people are never officially integrated into our Kenyan military.
There's a probability is because you can't control them. And that's why.
But that's why.
But then the thing,
you
look
need
at it
to be able to control.
What is their passion? Their passion of them doing is that they do it because they defend their tribe, they defend their animals, they defend their way of life. That is why they do it. That is even the reason why they're doing it. Or it's like lifeline. Ukizaliwa umezaliwa kwa bloodline lifeline, unafundishwa from a young age. So hawana hiyo, like, what do they benefit by joining the army? Kutumiwa na politician wanataka kufanya. Inasaidiaje mama yangu na baba yangu na nyanya yangu na kila mtu?
Well, the military pays. The military pays well.
Yeah, it pays, but then anafikiria, okay, naenda na join military, lakini niko hapa nalala kambi, but baba yangu anabiwa ng'ombe zake.
Sasa hapo ndo and then you kitu ya cattle rustling pia, it's another question how you can move 500 heads of cattle and it goes undetected.
You know the best trained military unit in Kenya ni anti-stock theft unit. Yenye inafukuzananga nao huko kwa hizo mabonde na milima.
Yes.
Hao jamaa wako.
Yeah,
huu ni mtu amekimbia kwa hizo milima from a young age. So body yake imeadapt hiyo terrain na kila kitu. Wewe umetoka pale, ulizaliwa Kisumu, umezoea flat terrain, umeenda ukatrainiwa kwa kambi ya jeshi, ukakuja ukadeploywa huko. Man, you will have to learn a lot of things quickly to survive. Na body yake inakuwa adapt vitu mingi sasa. So hao ndo wanga the best trained units. We like hizi units zingine elite kina race nini wenda kuiba watu huko wakuje kwa train kwa hizi sides zingine. Now, I agree with you, Ali. If the military could tap into that bloodstream, we will have very formidable special forces.
Now,
Idani,
yeah.
Vile Karua amesema, with a broken system, there is nothing to really talk for them. Unajua kuambia mtu ache damu yake, right? Ile ni birthright yake. Kuambia mtu ache birthright yake akuje kukusaidia, you have to offer them something very good. If you can offer them security na ng'ombe zao na kila kitu zao, you'll get them.
Okay, before you forget, how are your 401k accounts doing?
Bad.
Boss, mimi hata yangu siangaliagi.
Hata sikuangalia.
I just know that. I have one that I don't even do anything with.
You know, as we draw to a close, I'd love one day to get one of those Trump supporters. Akae tu na sisi, yani tukae tu kwa uzuri. Atueleze. Make us understand.
But you are told that this is the pain, the little
pain.
This
is the pain before the joy.
Yeah, this is the little pain that you remember we were being told that tariffs are coming and that it's going to be a little bit painful.
Yes.
You know there's nothing.
A little bit painful.
So as
they continue to fire left, right, and center.
Our cost of living is going to go up. Job securities are going down. Watu wako shoka watakuwa na makazi. Right? And cost of everything is going up.
I have colleagues who are firing.
How do you put this little pain?
It's not.
Now you see, I think this is the trouble that we have in the US, whereby most people are not schooled, at least on the basics of economics, not even advanced classes, the very basics of economics 101, whereby, and it's a very simple problem. If you increase the price of this good, fewer people are going to buy it. It's a very simple supply and demand problem. Now, America's economy, 70% relies on consumption, meaning you buying an iPhone, buying trinkets.
And you're continuously buying.
You're continuously buying.
Just like the clothes we buy every season.
That is 70% of the
yes.
economy. Mm-hmm. So if that starts shrinking, it means that now the companies that are making these products that you're buying are also shrinking because people are buying less of their products.
And money is not circulating.
Now, when these companies are shrinking, that means they're letting people go. They're laying off people. So now there's less money in the economy.
Correct.
So I don't know how whatever we're experiencing right now in America is very existential.
But you should talk to some Trump supporters who say, or the notion that I get from them is along the lines of, and I think you've mentioned it, I think in this show or prior, that it's just an adjustment, tighten the belt. It is the lull before now we rise up.
So it's a storm before the calm.
Apparently.
This is self-created. We didn't even have
this
to
is self-inflicted.
You really needed to negotiate with these chaps. Why didn't you pull them over and call them in one by one and
there
negotiate?
are people who do not understand how tariffs work. Let us start there.
I can understand people not knowing how tariffs work, but don't you understand that if the price of this goes up from maybe $20 to $55, few of these are going to be bought. So the company that's making this...
Because I remember I was having an argument with somebody and he was saying that when those tariffs are done, that money is going to be put in the treasury and then the treasury is going to use that money to spur manufacturing. It's going to... The money is going to be invested into the economy. And I'm like, if you're a businessman, yes, Okay, maybe, but if you're not an economist, some things have to make sense. Like, I am not an economist. I know, but I know about the law of supply and demand. I know you're najua, because at some point I know that if things are madhogodhanio, I'm going to put my monies. I'm gonna be like, I'm not gonna spend as much. I'll wait. I'll hold my money. I'm like, ni madhogodhanio. And then, come on, Ingata, I will look for the cheapest. Like, I just wait. I'm not gonna freely spend.
Yeah, people are not gonna go buy cars.
On top of that, what it would take to set up manufacturing here,
it's almost impossible right now. It's virtually impossible.
Like you've heard about the aluminium and what. You find that, like, is it Ford that cut 900 jobs? 900.
That was
and that is just Ford.
Jeep,
Stellantis.
Yeah,
right?
Chrysler,
Yeah. 900 jobos.
No, ask me. I'll give you a simple example, because
by all means.
Yeah, because I'm in the manufacturing industry,
Mm-hmm.
and these things we are watching them happen live. It's like a nightmare. And basically, what it takes, like whatever we make, we can build it. We do have the expertise to build it in America. And how do I know this? We do custom work. So for the products that maybe the client doesn't like the size that we're offering or whatever, we do custom work. But you know what custom work does? Custom work means whatever was selling for $1,000 is about $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some rich people who can afford that.
Mm.
So even so let's say, stick in the tariffs, now make the manufacturing happen here. So now a product that's made by our factories that are abroad, if we decide to make it here
in-house,
$7,000,
whatever is selling for $1,000 will now sell for $5,000.
Yes. Let me add something up that most people don't understand, right? There was a time whereby the reason manufacturing was taken abroad was because it was cheap labor. But after a while, that labor stopped becoming cheap because people learned that skill. And I'll take an example of something called semiconductors, right? Semiconductors, engineers in China are in the thousands. In America, they're less than 100.
Expertise.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes. So there's no expertise in America.
Yes.
Apart from just saying building those industries, there's no expertise because those jobs have been taken away. They went away. That skill died. I go anymore.
Yes.
So even if we bring those jobs back, we'll go to hire people from there to come back here and work here so that they can teach people here how to do that job. So it's going to take years. It's like whoever is advising these fools, Akwana angalia all the metrics of what is happening. It's a good idea to bring manufacturing back. It's a good idea to collapse the economy and reset everything from zero, because I believe it's time to pay debts. So to reduce your negotiation, your debt in the countries or each other. Yeah, that's like all those conspiracies that people are talking about why this is happening. But at the end of the day, you have to consider that it's not going to work.
Yeah, and Washeke here says, Ali Badawi, you are assuming people know how tariffs work. Some people assume that tariffs punish the country the goods originate from. That's very true. And that's a problem of being in a zombified situation, which I think we talk about Kenya, but Americans have been zombified too, because you're seeing people, even people who have a fair amount of education, like swallowing these things. And I think the problem with America is that this kind of knowledge is not there. Because like ata kazini, like una notice there's some people who are struggling to understand, like why is this a bad thing? Why is it affecting? What did we do? And some of them voted for Trump. So they're struggling. They're struggling to understand. They're struggling to understand. When Trump was announcing, me, I was like, we usually have like, a department to konaka chat group. Mi nilikuwa hapo ndani. I was posting everything. Pap, ndo hiyo hapo. And then na circle, like where like so us guys, we get our stuff from Indonesia. So I'm just circling Indonesia, ndo hiyo hapa 32% cut off. Ndo hiyo hapo nimerusha hapo ndani. And then watu wanaanza kuuliza, so what how will this because Indonesia was slapped with 32%. Yeah.
But you saw how they came about that percentage.
Yeah, very jonkali.
What
a ChatGPT. They used a very basic rudimentary formula where I think they were using,
because even Kenya was hit with 10%.
Kenya was hit by 10%. So there was other countries that were all hit by 10%. But these countries ingine, they were using I think the trade deficit. And then kwa website wameka another complicated formula that was debunked. That was like hakuna ikitu, it's just to fool people.
It just once.
It
looks complicated.
It looks complicated, but it's a very basic rudimentary formula that mtoi wa standard 3 anaweza fanya hiyo calculation. So whatever they were saying there, that this is the tariff this country charges, that's not true. Those are not the tariffs that the other country charges. So wakaiweka up, and then they just put some random, and you notice like all the countries that MAGA has had a beef with, they were all slapped. South Africa, any country that he's had a beef with, all of them were slapped. But yeah, we're in the finding out phase. We're in that finding out phase, and
there's more to come.
There's more to come.
I'm sure.
There's more to come. Like me, the advice I'd give people, okay, and one thing to understand about your 401k, or if you have an index fund in a brokerage account, whatever is happening right now is very existential. I can't tell you if I know that the dollar will not collapse next year. Because now we are starting to look at those possibilities which were not there before. So for people who hold single stocks, poleni. These are the nightmares, because there's some stocks that were losing 60% in one day. Yeah. 50%. Stocks were losing that much.
Washaka is over here saying about even tariffs were assessed on penguins.
Yeah, in some
McDonald's Island.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Two islands with penguins zilipigwa tariff.
And I'm sure maggots
pia imepungwa kwa ocean. So haziwezi leta samaki mingi America.
Yeah.
And maggots were very happy about that crap.
Yeah. So I, like, I don't know, like right now, tighten your belts. What I can tell people is that I think the recent experience people have of the market going down was, I think ilikuwa ni 2022, when I think the market lost maybe, sijui kama ilifika 20%. I can't remember how much, but the market lost something in 2022. And then time ya COVID, but time ya COVID, it was a very short period, and then it went back up. But I wish to remind people that these markets, they can stay down, and they can stay down for a very long time. Unaona kama bubble ya maybe Omoshi, I think both of you are in the US already, the .com bubble.
That was 98.
Yeah, no, it happened after 2000. It was after 2000. Yeah. The .com bubble hiyo ilikuja, I think,
where everyone and their mother was opening up a website.
We thought the world
and
was
they're getting
also
venture.
Yeah.
Also, we thought things were going to crash after 2000.
Yeah, so I think it took
Y2K.
It took more than 3 years, or maybe even longer, for the S&P 500 to recover its original value. Yeah, so at this point, of course, I can't predict the future. Like sometimes watu wanakuja na niuliza, what is going to happen? Naambia, the good thing is that nobody knows. Nobody knows. But with all this, whatever is happening right now, these are self-inflicted wounds. 𝑃𝒂𝒃, COVID, it's not. These are all self-inflicted wounds. So nobody knows. So the advice that I can give you is make sure your emergency fund is padded. because we don't know what's going to happen. And don't try to pull any sudden moves. Don't try to pull, if you're a guy of dollar cost averaging where you take 5% of your income na unaiweka kwa 401k ama whatever percent, I would say just continue doing that. But I would, on another side, I would say some of these things that are happening are very, very existential. Because one of the things that American companies have relied on is on them being global. If you look at the S&P 500, almost all those companies, they sell their goods globally. Now, if it gets to a point where people are no longer buying those goods,
or the goods will be at a higher rate,
will be at a higher price, so fewer people are buying.
Yes, which goes back to they're not buying, and it affects the bottom line, and then trickle-down effect. You're getting rid of folks. You have people who are standing on the streets all over. Even security, this lack of having fences, it becomes a problem. Because jama kama ana chakula na anaona wewe light zako are on in your hao, si atakuja kana anapita na mlango yako.
Sasa crime is gonna go up.
Anakuja kana anapita na mlango yako.
Kitu funny pia ilikuwa is that leo on Fridays at work we have a meeting that we called the water cooler. Sio na tukupiga story hapo. And tulishangaa nilikuwa nasikia so watu wakisema what plans do you have for summer nini and everything, and the people who travel walikuwa nasema me and Nani decided anasataja bibi yake ama hazi yake, but decided we're not going to travel because we don't know how we'll be accepted outside there. So there's a fear that hao wenyewe wanaogopa kutoka nje ya country, like nika the rest of the world hates them, right? So that means your tourism and all that money that was being spent on moving around in a reduce in all aspects. So just the same way trade is being affected, it's affecting also the social life of people. So strap up. Nakona pesa, shikilia pesa yako. This is not the time to spend stupidly.
Na wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up. Mika kaende.
Yeah, hit and miss ni sawa tu haina. Anyway,
very relaxed.
I want to
sing a song.
Karua for joining us today. We are glad that you joined us, and we're happy that you came, and we just hope that when you come to DC, we can have you live in the studio and have a longer conversation. There are a lot of questions, a lot of conversation that people feel like they need to have, and it will be very wonderful to have you. The weather is good, people. Demon time. Imefika. Watu wako kunywa na kupiga raundi zote. Drink and do not drive. Drink a duba. Alright, be safe. Especially right now. Any reason can take you back home or put you into a situation you don't want to enjoy. Do not drink, do not drive. Take care of yourself. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, Mikasi. And I would want to send a special shout out. Thank you to our guest, Honorable Martha Karua. I think maybe Kesho, it will sink into us that we were actually talking to her and she was talking to us. She made time, though it was short and sweet, but maybe the appeal would be, Ali, that we reach out to her people and say, hey, we are here for another one. If you have time and you can squeeze us in, let's get another one. Na tuone vile tunaweza ongea naye na watu pia wakuje waongee naye, for those who can't make it to the physical locations where they are trying to, have the meetings with the different Kenyans and in the different geographical areas. I would also say we have, we are rolling into summer now, things are changing, and economics this year for all of us is a very, very different thing. Ali touched on it a little bit, and I'd say tighten your belts, pull up your socks, na kama ulikuwa mtu wa kuweka pesa chini ya mattress, sasa uweke underneath the pillow just in case you need to remove it faster. But the whole point of it is try to be a lot more frugal. Maybe don't buy those summer clothes like you want to buy this year, and at least wait it out. Let's see how things are going, because at some point something is going to give. We just don't know what is going to give and when it's going to give, and you don't want to be caught flat-footed. They do say a lot of us are a paycheck away from being homeless. Is that what it is, Ali?
Yeah.
And indeed, it's true for a lot of us, because, you know, by the time you're able to put aside that money for the 6 months of survival, and then you're also, you know, living your regular life, and you're also the one who's providing maybe to, you know, your folks at home, or you're providing to your family, or whoever it is that you're supporting. Hata kama ni ule mtoto unapeleka shule because you had that extra, you know, $50 that you could peleka a kid to. That right now, that extra $50 might not be seen. Kama huna karatasi, kitu tuna notice sahi, there's a lot of rumor mongering going on. There's a lot of things that are happening. Just stay on point, stay on top of your stuff, and if you have the ability, I'll tell anybody who has a green card, if you have the ability, go and apply and get your citizenship. Yeah, there may be a wait, but it's fine, because at this point, these jammers are not playing. And at least if we're going by rumor mill, or, you know, and if we're looking at the things that are happening, especially to our Latino brothers, it's just a matter of time kabla tuvamiwe kama Waafrika. Si kwa ubaya. It's just going to be a matter of time. Sahi, they are dealing with the ones that are here. That
no, but tushanza kuvamiwa because we already know people.
No, what I'm trying to say is at the levels that they are doing it, where right now they are basically they're like, it's strategic. We have to go for these people. Because when you look at the numbers of the immigrants who are in the country, those guys are in the hundreds of thousands, right? So they are actually strategically going after them to the point where you're even pulling back protections that, you know, nations and peoples have traditionally
like
had.
Venezuela,
you know, that right there, you know,
TPS.
There's a lot to say in that, you know, and even other folks. Let's say you're a Kenyan who has applied for asylum, and you came in at some point via asylum, or you had some case, and you know you're renewing that. Kuna kapami tuna renew every year. Hiyo kitu sasa hata sahi nikawa nakata kurenew, na ukienda kurenew wanakungojea na unanaswa. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening, a lot of things that are going on, and if you're in certain situations, make sure you're lawyered up. Don't deal with those nyangaos if you don't have a lawyer na mtu ambaye anajua pali uko na anaweza kakutetea, because once you get lost in the system,
that's it,
out nejega.
Yeah,
they're not playing. So with that said, see you guys next week. Ali, when is Boston Marathon?
Boston Marathon somewhere in mid-April.
So in a Caribbean.
Sijui, I don't know. We need to talk to Anjeri.
Maze, we are looking very slim shady hapa. Inaonekana hii Boston Marathon.
Problem ni Boston Marathon imekaribiana na LA7s.
Which LA7s really to mess. LA7s came out of nowhere.
Boss, we don't even know if guys will be given visas to come and run.
No, Boston Marathon.
And by the way, don't forget, Iran qualified for the World Cup.
And I hope they're in the same pool with the US. Yes. Anyway.
You guys, I don't even know if I should call you guys prophets of doom or sijui hata sielewi hivi.
No. We're just looking
that will be a packed game. Yeah.
Just find us an egg supply in Baltimore because tumechoka. With that said, see you guys next week. Asanteni. Make sure you hug your loved ones. Enjoy your people. Spend time together. The weather and is breaking. Nini, kama ni kwenda kukata nyasi or whatever it is, you know, go out. Oh, by the way, go out, take a walk. You know, do that at least 30 minutes walk. Those things help, man. Kunywa maji. Yani siku hizi kuna wase wengine kama sisi tunaona mafitnesi. Tumewachia Ali is the only one of us who's not, you know, doing things.
What?
But wengine wetu ni sawa, mimi nitaenda kuanza kuinua chuma, but not like Lloyd, lakini nitaenda kuinua chuma.
That train, do you get the number plate?
Anyway, asanteni sana to everyone who tuned in. Thank you so much to Martha Karua and her team for coming through. for this episode. And like Bandio said, we hope when you come to town, you'll be able to come inside the studio and have a longer conversation with us. We appreciate the 1 hour. Would have preferred if it was longer, but we're glad that you came through. And hopefully, whatever mission you have with the Kenyan diaspora, you'll be able to accomplish it. Big things we're planning for you in April here. And just on a housekeeping note, the last Friday of, is it the last Friday of April or it's the first Friday of May? I think it's the last Friday. When we will not have an episode because of LS7s. We'll figure out when it is.
It's the first Nini of...
okay, we'll figure that out.
Yes. We'll come back and give you guys a correct date.
Yes, we'll figure that out. We are not going to have an episode
because we're talking pre-LS7.
No. I know it's gonna be because today is 4th and then 15th and then I think 29th. So I think it's gonna be in May.
1st of May.
Okay.
The first weekend in May because that's because that's May 2nd, May 4th, something like that, first one, So we have up to the last one.
So Friday, April 4th.
28th.
And then the next Friday will be 18th. And then, so it might be 1st May. It might be the first of May.
Yeah, the first weekend. The first Friday
it might be the first Friday.
We're probably not going to have.
Or maybe it might be the 30th of April. Well, we'll figure that out.
The 30th of April is on a Wednesday.
Or the 30th of April is on a Wednesday. Okay.
Yes, 1st of May is on a Thursday.
The first Friday in May, we're not going to have a show.
Okay,
that's the second.
Yes,
that's the second.
So the one we will have. So which is the last
that will
one
be
of April.
That will be the 25th.
Oh, and I'm getting your word from Masheke.
25th.
18th is Good Friday.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then the following Friday is the 25th. Then after that would be the May 2nd.
Yeah.
So our last show will be the 25th.
Okay.
Of April.
And then we will skip the first show.
So the 18th to Kona Mahara Mroki.
Okay, on 18th.
On the 18th.
Okay, so that's confirmed.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless we have Kerea, but we know the April 18th.
Okay.
Mahara Mroki.
And possibly next Friday, still not confirmed. It might either be Fatmata or it might be Rungu. It might be one of the two. So we'll
easy.
confirm.
We are adaptable.
Yeah.
We are just accordingly.
We can split hairs in the middle.
Yeah, anyway, asante sana. Yote ambaye anataka kunipigia nambari ya simu ni ile 1-800 mteule. Operator akishika simu, mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu, na akikuuliza mjukuu yupi, mkumbushe ni mjukuu yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Hey Dan, Daddy loves you. Jerry, Daddy loves you. Nemo, Daddy loves you. Until next week.